woke up.
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going?
Um,
I'm doing great.
Let me check your levels real quick. Check, check, check. Talk for me.
Check, 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 check.
Okay. Looks pretty good. If there's any audio issues, chat, just let me know.
All right.
What's going on?
I'm doing great. I'm recently just off from work. I think I'm gonna go back. I think September. But
Oh, nice. You had a little break, yeah.
yeah. But for now, I'm kind of like I'm just here at my parents' house. I think
Cool.
recently I think a couple days ago I dropped my sister off at Yale. So apart from that, I think the my whole life hasn't exactly been that eventful. I mean,
Sure.
although I did try, I did follow your advice and I started posting reels. These were like
Okay, how'd that go?
I mean for like okay so these reels in particular, these are from like past interviews that I've had with with like Ryan Gutierrez and like Gross Girl, and
Sure.
on Instagram they didn't exactly do all that well, but on YouTube they surprisingly blew up.
That's interesting. Yeah, the algorithm on Instagram changes constantly, and I never really understand what the new meta is. It's very weird how meta I don't know. Everything Facebook does is very secretive and strange, and they update it constantly. So the
Yeah,
second something works, it stops working relatively quickly. It's very weird.
yeah, it's frustrating. Quite frankly, it's like I hear all the time from professionals that it's like, hey, if you want to get jobs, you'd have to basically constantly post on Instagram, and it's like,
Yeah,
well, how am I supposed to how am I supposed to do that if it's like every time I post something up, it's like like it gets like very zero attention, like very little attention.
it's very weird how they run it, but I don't know. Hopefully there's a little more transparency going forward, but I'm glad you got stuff on YouTube at least.
Yeah. It's actually it's I've been kind of just streaming myself consistently over like the past
Cool.
few months. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, basically it's like it it's when I try to do projects like without recording myself.
Yeah,
That's when I get that's when I get distracted, and
for sure.
that's
Yeah, I have the same issue.
yeah, and that's because there's it's kind of embarrassing to say, but I go on like Pinterest to look for a reference, and then next thing you know you know out of nowhere, out of the blue, there's a picture of like say like I don't know some cosplay chick or a model, and like my dumb monkey brain is like, ooh, what's that? It's like
That's also an Instagram thing.
yeah,
A lot of the views funnel into models and things.
yeah,
It's all very it's weird. It's a lot of rage bait and it's a lot of like off-platform marketing by people. It's very weird. But no, I understand completely. Going down the I don't know what to call it. Going down the reference rabbit hole can eat a whole work day if you don't have a thing something to keep you accountable. Like I do the same thing where I have to stream, and because if I don't, I'll put on a movie for inspiration, and then maybe I'll watch a little too much of the movie, and then oh, maybe I want to look up something I'm painting, and then it turns into 2 hours of googling, and then it's just yeah. If I'm live, I'm not gonna walk away because I have people watching, so it's a lot better for me. Keeps me accountable, gets my work done quicker.
yeah. I mean, there are
Yeah,
times where I do have to walk away. Where it's like I need to use the bathroom, but it's like
yeah,
it's like in the back of my mind, that thing is like just is just it's just it's like you have people waiting for you, even though most of the time when I stream, it's like there's no one waiting for me, and like I don't know.
it's
I think it'd be kind of awkward if if I'd like just do a stream and then
mm.
I completely forget about it, and then
Oh yeah,
it just runs for the next like they're like it just runs for like the next 3 days, and then
yeah.
it's just it's just in intervals of silence. It's just me doing just wasting my time, or acting like a moron, or like I don't know, my parents like arguing in the background. You could hear that.
Actually don't know what the current cutoff is. I know way back in the day when we started doing live streams, it was 4 hours. You had to do it in 4 hour chunks on like livestream.com. I actually don't know how long YouTube will let you stream. I've never looked that up. I
Yeah,
wonder if you could do like a week long stream. I'm curious now.
yeah. Actually, I don't know if I can survive that a week long stream. That'd be wild.
Oh yeah, you'd have to stream. You'd have to stream your sleeping and stuff and be one of those VTube people. But I'm just curious what the limit is.
It's like,
But yeah,
by the way, like, how do they do that? Like, basically, just like they stream themselves just sleeping.
donations. Yeah, if you
Donations.
get enough donations, people are willing to do anything. Yeah, I think a lot of them. I don't know. I think a lot of them fake sleeping. Personally, I imagine they do because it's just a huge risk if anything was to go wrong. But I don't know. I think if people are making enough money off audience donations, they're willing to stream just about anything.
Yeah, but
Seems that way at least.
it's kind of wild. Like it's like when I found out about like basically people who like essentially just stream themselves just going to bed. It's like
Yeah.
that is like I found that out when I was like in my late teens, and I was like, wait, people do that? Like there's like
Yeah, it had a weird spike during COVID too, because I think everybody was lonely, and it was like when that weird parasocial shit started to get really really popular, where like people weren't just watching content because they liked the content, they were watching the content because the creator felt like a friend or something, and like I think a lot of that bled into that whole phenomenon. I think it was a lot of people that were just lonely and like that weird, I don't know, kind of like dystopian Blade Runner sense of intimacy, where it's like normally you'd only watch a person sleep if they were a relative who was sleeping in the same room as you, or if they were a romantic partner. But now you can just go do that with randoms, and it scratches that weird part of your animal brain that feels like there's a connection there. I think that's, I don't know, I personally think that's really dangerous and not great to promote, but I know that for a lot of people it was very lucrative.
yeah, honestly, like I don't know, like when I discovered that, I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of, it's like there's like a market of people who are just like stalkers, and
Yeah,
it's like
and you're inviting bad shit, I think, if you do that a lot, because inevitably you're self-selecting for the kinds of people that are going to watch that and think that they actually know you, because like you're basically just like chumming the water for like weird stalker people to like get obsessed with you and think that they actually know you, and like I don't know, it's strange to me the people that are able to do that semi consistently and not have it backfire, but I don't know. It's definitely a weird little cottage industry of like capitalizing on like the weird loneliness epidemic. But
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I feel like I don't know. I feel like if that's like a, it's like if we just if we just allow this to keep on happening, I feel like things will just get worse. It's like we're in
Yeah.
this like I don't know, like I'm 25, and like I don't know, it's obviously not like that in real life, but like every time I open Instagram, I just
Yeah.
like I get the feeling that it's like men and women live in this like adversarial kind of like environment where they just like where they just don't trust each other, and I feel like
Yeah, because rage is like really good for algorithms. It's like it's also like part of what Elon did when he bought Twitter. It's like rage translates really easily to engagements because anger is a much easier emotion to like stoke the fire of than like humor or love. Like you can make people angry really fast. Comedy is subjective. If you post funny stuff, some people will like it, some people won't. If you post positive stuff, some people will care about the thing you're posting, some people won't. But if you post stuff that like divides people, stuff that like kind of pokes the bear on issues, like that gets way more engagement. And for a platform that is entirely based on engagement and views and paying out ad revenue, it automatically means that stuff that makes people feel angry and stuff that divides people and stuff that sort of sets up factions to play against each other, that's the shit that spreads really really fast. It's like it's sad that that's how it works, but it just anger is just the quickest emotion to access in anybody.
oh yeah, yeah, fair enough, fair enough. But I feel like it's I don't know, like it's there's this kind of like idea that essentially say like the insanely like wealthy kind of like use
Yeah,
that as a distraction for like regular
sure.
people to distract them from the fact that it's like that they're kind of getting screwed over right now.
Yeah, it's sort of like I don't know. I've heard that theory where it's basically like the modern version of the gladiator matches in Rome, where it's like if you don't give the people their entertainment, they're gonna make their own, and their own entertainment's gonna be like heads on spikes kind of thing. Like I've definitely heard that theory that it's like chumming the water so the sharks aren't, super hungry.
Hmm.
But but yeah, no, yeah, I've definitely heard that, and I think there's probably some merit to it, because I mean, I don't know, every social media platform is prioritizing rage bait right now. It's very like, I understand that they're companies that have a bottom line and they have to go the way that makes the most money, but it is very I don't know, it's very sad that that is the deciding factor. It's just okay, well, this makes more money, so we're just gonna let people fucking hate each other and fucking freak out. And yeah, it's unfortunate. It does feel very feels very dystopian in a very classic sense. It feels like something I would have read in a novel that was boring in high school. Like it's such a cartoonishly dumb version of like a tech future that it feels like it shouldn't have become real, but it's
It's
very quickly becoming real. It's I don't know. All these weird dystopian things that were fiction 10 years ago are suddenly real like overnight. Like I remember watching that movie Her with Scarlett Johansson as
oh
the
my
AI
god,
girlfriend.
yeah.
And now it's just real. It's just a real thing that exists. And it's like, oh, that took like 10 years to go from dystopian future to I can just download this on my phone and here it is. Like it's fucking crazy how fast the like weird doomerism stuff is accelerating. But
It's like oh god, like with her, like essentially there's like this video of like a guy with an actual job and family, and essentially he's
yeah.
like, yeah, I kind of broke down when ChatGPT reached its like letter limit because essentially it's like
Oh.
I had an entire relationship with this program,
Oh no. Can
and
you
like
imagine?
yeah, and
Oh
like
God.
he asked that thing to marry him, and
Oh
basically
Jesus Christ.
and it's like I'm not gonna lie, basically in the interview, it's like well after that happened, the interview was like it cut to the wife, and basically they were like, "What do you think?" And basically the wife's like, "Obviously, I'm not happy with this." Like it,
Yeah, of course.
like
Yeah.
dude, I'm sorry. Like I come from a Catholic Dominican immigrant family. You try
Sure.
that, you do that shit to any of the women in my family, they will dump
Oh
you
yeah.
so fast.
You're lucky if that's all that happened.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
fucking wild shit. I know people that would fucking stab a dude over that. That's fucking crazy.
It's like it's like imagine like getting like cheat, not like it's like you don't like when you're like cheated when like if you're a woman and a husband cheats on you with like another
Yeah.
person, it's like okay, it's still bad, but it's like
Yeah.
it's another person, but with like a
The
language model,
language. Yeah, it's not even human. Yeah.
it's like a
And I
slightly
think I think a lot of people assume that it's not because it's not human, it's not cheating. I've heard a lot of that weird rationale too, where it's like, well, it's just like a role play fantasy thing. It's just an app. It's like not really. Like you're
no.
stepping outside the relationship for needs that aren't being met. It's weird fucking. And also, now it's getting into like design your perfect fake woman. And like my favorite side hustle that I've seen popping up all over Instagram is people making fake AI women and then making a fake OnlyFans for the AI woman and then just getting money, just making fake people that people are subscribing to get fake nudes of. Like it's like a whole AI experience that is like, and it's just like a bunch of dudes in like Dubai or something. Like it's so insane that that's a thing now where like the girl isn't even real and people are paying money to get subscriptions. It's so nuts.
Oh my god.
But
I mean,
it's just going off the rails. It's all the AI shit's just going off the rails so much quicker than I ever thought it would. It's just like the fastest accelerating thing.
yeah, it's kind of I don't know. For me, it's kind of sad because essentially like it's like there's like good stuff that could be like achieved with this technology, like essential
Oh,
like
for sure.
there's like
Yeah.
like I've heard like AI had like had like it can essentially like help out with like diagnosing diseases and protein
Yep.
folding and like gene editing with like CRISPR and all that
Yeah.
all that fancy sciencey stuff. And it's like meanwhile it's like that's like the potential of like how AI could like contribute to society. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
it's just this is what we get right now. We just get like
Yeah.
fake
It's
girlfriends.
just the base needs. It's the same thing as the rage bait algorithm. It's just sex sells, and AI companies are profit motivated and they want to make money. And the fastest way to make money is to access that part of the lizard brain. It's just, you know, it's just it's unfortunate. It's the oldest thing in the book, really. But we'll see. I mean, hopefully AI goes in a direction where it's beneficial for society more than it's detrimental. But right now, it definitely seems like it's a little more detrimental than positive at the moment.
Yeah,
Hopefully that evens out. I do think that I don't know. I don't think it should be necessarily like run by the government, but like I don't think it's a good thing that all these AI companies are like profit motivated. I don't think profit motivation is going to be the thing that leads this tech to doing the really good stuff. I think it's sort of like, the internet was like funded on an accident by the government. It just kind of happened because of a bunch of basic research. And I think it's going to be that kind of thing where I need people that aren't motivated by a bottom line to really push the limits of what it can do just to see what it can do, not to get a return.
yeah,
And I think that's when you're going to get the really good stuff.
yeah. I feel I don't know like the I already knew that we were kind of like going into a bad direction when like
Yeah.
immediately as soon as like this technology started popping off in any way, the guys who were like who were like AI ethicists, like it's like
Yeah.
were like immediately shit canned.
Yeah.
And it's like it's like when like it's like they knew that the
Yeah.
moment that any of his AI girlfriend like shit were just was gonna get pitched, they'd be like, "No, what are you doing? Stop."
Yeah, now it's like I don't know. There was a story. I'm pretty sure this is real because it was fairly widely reported if I remember correctly. There was a story of somebody using AI as a therapist because they couldn't afford a therapist, and the AI eventually told him that he was probably better off killing himself.
Oh God.
And it's like fucking nuts, dude. Like because like it's operated on logic. Like it's not a person. So like if I don't know, it's just crazy to me that you would ever outsource something so rooted in the human experience to something that isn't a person. It's just the fact that we're even playing around with like letting AI make decisions about life and death is fucking crazy. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean it's been what, like 5 years ish at the most, maybe less since this really started like popping off, and like we're already here. We're at like fake relationships and fake psych help, and it's being used to like, gamify all kinds of insane decision making all over society. It's crazy how fast it's just become the meta for so many people.
Yeah. It's it's just wild. And like the most embarrassing part was that it's like at first I was kind of like I was like it's like this stuff is the future, but then like I like as soon as like we got deeper
Yeah.
into the AI, I was like, oh wait, no, no,
Well, it is the future. It's just which future do you want? Do you
yeah,
want fucking, Blade Runner, or do you want Star Trek The Next Generation? Like AI is the future. It's just which future? Do you want a good one or a shit one? Because it can lead to both.
hmm, that is true,
But
that is
like
true.
I have so many okay, I got a lot of female friends, went to art school, mostly girls, but like I've heard stories from a lot of them where it's like they'll go on dates with guys and the guy will be nothing like he was on the dating app or in the text messages. And I'm like, yeah, because he's not actually talking to you. He's using Chat GPT. Like the personality of the person you met and talked to and thought that you liked and met up with is not that actual person. It's a robot algorithmically feeding you the optimal lines to make you want to hang out with the guy. It's like people are using it to like outsource human connectivity now, and it's very very weird because it's like what's the point? You're just like hoping someone's gonna notice that you're not the person you sold yourself as because you let a fucking robot make all your decisions. Like it's very, very creepy, but you know.
Yeah, it is. It is. It really is.
And then there's all the, stealing art and all that other stuff that everyone's beaten to death, but is also bad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, for this conversation, I don't know. I know that like it's best to like essentially just like have things like just like flow, but
Mhm.
like I I don't know. I feel like I do kind of want to pick your brain because essentially it's like you're like
Yeah.
you're like you're a veteran of like this industry and like you've done like a lot of
Well,
things.
I've done some stuff. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a veteran. I did a whole lot of freelance for about 5 years, and then I worked on a couple movies, and then I worked on a game, and then I worked on a bunch of Kickstarters, and me and Dave made our books and made a bunch of money and sold the TV show, and that's about it. I'm not like I've done stuff for sure. Like that's a list of things, but it's not like I'm not like at the grindstone for the past 20 years like some of the people I came up with who've just been at concept art houses like machines. Like I definitely took some breaks. I took one break after we did our books just because I was completely burnt out, and I took another break when my mom got sick to take care of her during her cancer. And
Hmm.
like yeah, I've been around and I've done some jobs, but I would never put myself on a pedestal the same way someone like, Dave Raposa or Keikai Kitaki or any of those other people who have been around really doing tons of work. Like I've done work, but my output is not, I think, where it could be or should be. But I appreciate you thinking so. I just I don't know. I'm definitely I don't know. I'm trying to find a way to get back into making this my everything the way it was in my 20s. I just definitely kind of I don't know. I got a little I don't know if it's laziness or if it's complacent after I made a I don't know, it's weird. When you're comfortable, it's kind of like the death of ambition. And like after me and Dave did our Kickstarters, I think I got a little too comfortable.
Hmm.
And it's very weird to try and find motivation to come back out of that.
Hey,
But but yeah,
no, no, yeah, maybe, no, maybe I kind of like it's like I'm 25 years old, and I think like
sure.
I've graduated college like 4 years ago, and
Hmm.
it's it's like oh like I don't know maybe I don't want to like basically blame like my complacency at the feet of COVID, but it's like
I mean, that was a big deal, especially for someone your age. COVID was what, like 25% of your life?
basically.
It's a pretty fucking huge deal. Like it's weird for, I don't know, someone in their 30s. Like COVID was like, oh, it was a couple weird years and then like a weird recovery after. But like if you're 25, COVID, we're still feeling the effects of COVID. Like inflation and stuff going on right now has its roots back in COVID. That's what, COVID-19, and it's 2025 going on 26. That's 6 years.
Mm.
That's like what, like yeah, like 25% of your life. Like that's a huge thing, and it fucked so many things, especially I don't want to say where you're from, but you're near a pretty major city, and that shut down everything. It shut down social life. It shut down schools. The school I used to teach at here in Boston shut down during COVID because they couldn't, they just couldn't make enough money because although they couldn't do on-site classes and they were paying rent to a building that they were operating out of. And like I used to lecture there 6 times a year. It was a good gig, and they're just gone. They just, they couldn't survive it. There's so many businesses. A lot of my favorite restaurants. I used to work in the food industry, and a lot of my favorite restaurants and places my friends worked all had to close because they couldn't, have people come in. Me and Dave, essentially, the reason me and Dave lost our TV show that we were making was because of COVID, because we sold the TV show to a network based on our books, and it was greenlit, and we had like Oscar and Emmy winning actors and comedians that were casted, like they had signed the contracts, and all that shit was done, and it was in production, and we were writing the scripts, and then COVID happened, and essentially what happened in Hollywood was nobody could film anything on sets because of the distancing rules and because of the travel restrictions. So all these streaming services were like, okay, well, if we can't film live action stuff, we're just going to dump a bunch of money into animation because we can make it remotely. And they flooded the market with animated products because they couldn't film live action stuff. And then because they flooded the market with animated stuff, for every one that succeeded, there were like 10 failures.
Hmm.
So now there's this weird industry stigma on animated stuff, especially in the adult humor category. So, because of that, this greenlit thing that we had that was, basically a sure thing completely fell apart. It completely fucked both of us. Like, COVID's a very big deal that's felt across a lot of industries.
Hmm.
And I don't think we're going to see, the effects of what COVID did to the world economy and to all those industries for at least another couple more years. I mean, we're still definitely in the thick of it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say that you're overblowing the effects of, what it did to your life, especially for your age.
Yeah, it's like a, it's just it's like I know comparison is like the thief of joy, but it's like you like a like you've listed your accomplishments, and it's like that's actually like it's like that you essentially kind of like just like making your own book, or like doing any concept or video games, or like essentially like those are
Yeah.
like I think pretty big accomplishments, in like in my opinion. It's
Yeah, I don't. Anyone who makes decent money doing art is in a pretty high percentage of people because most people that do art they either never believe in themselves enough to go and do it, or they just never end up getting it, or they go into art school and art school kind of washes them out, or like it. I've done some stuff and I have some accomplishments. I just don't want anyone listening to this to think that I'm like some industry pro. Like I'm not.
hmm,
I'm not that guy. I've got a lot of experience on a lot of different things, and I know a lot of industry pros, and I've seen a lot of stuff and worked on a lot of stuff. But I'm not like that guy. I'm not like a West thing. I'm just like a dude who enjoys painting and made some books. And but yeah,
all right.
I've definitely been around. Definitely, you know, have a lot of friends that have worked on a lot of things and have adjacently worked on a lot of things. But yeah,
All right, all right. Hmm. Okay, so would you be comfortable with me moving on to the first question?
yeah, man. Any whatever pace you want to do, totally cool.
All right, all right, all right. So this is the first question. Okay, so when did you figure out you wanted to do what you do for a living?
Um, it's a weird question with a couple of different answers.
Hmm.
If you're talking about art, I knew pretty much from when I was a kid that I wanted to do art. My dream job, like when I was a kid, I only had a couple of video games because my parents wouldn't buy me new video game consoles. So like I had like The Legend of Zelda on the NES, and I had like Final Fantasy 1, and I had like that was basically it. And I would just draw everything from those games in my notebook and what I thought everything looked like. And then eventually I remember there was a VHS of the Final Fantasy 5 anime. Uh I think it's just called Final Fantasy. It's like it's set in the world of Final Fantasy 5 like 1,000 years after the game. It's about a kid on a motorcycle with a katana. And I remember I made my mom buy me that VHS when I was a kid because I was like, there's a Final Fantasy movie and it's an anime. No fucking way. Oh, I'm 8 years old. Holy shit. I need it. And like I got it, and there was a trailer at the beginning of it for a gallery show that was touring the United States of Yoshitaka Amano's artwork. And at that point, I had seen his stuff, but I didn't really know who he was. Like I didn't know the name, and I didn't know the breadth of the stuff he had done. I knew he was a Final Fantasy guy, and I had seen some stuff in some strategy guides and like, Nintendo Powers, but I was like, I didn't know who this was. And I remember that trailer playing before the movie on that VHS, and I was like, oh, hold on, there's like artists who draw all the shit for these games, and then they make the game. That's the coolest thing ever. That's so fucking cool. And then that was a big moment and motivator for me. I also I don't know. I always drew, but I really started taking drawing seriously as a kid when I saw the Disney Beauty and the Beast, because the idea of inanimate objects becoming alive as characters for some reason really scratched a thing in my brain, and I was kind of obsessed with that.
Hmm.
And I would do a lot of that where I would just find an object and try and draw it as a character, and that was a big motivator. In terms of figuring out, like, I think the question was, when did I know that I wanted to do what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
I think the thing I really love doing the most, I think my dream job isn't actually art anymore. It's the writing. Because like when me and Dave were doing our books, and then when we were working on the TV show, that is the most fun I've ever had doing anything in my entire life. Like painting is fun, illustrating is fun, concepting is fun. I love working on projects. I love art. It's always going to be like my first love. But man, nothing is more fun than just trying to make my best friend laugh, and then him trying to make me laugh, and then writing down the best jokes after like a long session and cleaning them up and tightening them up and just trying to like out joke each other. Like that is the most fun thing I think I've ever done in my entire life. So like in my mind, when I think about who I am now after doing those books and working on the TV show, I think I consider myself like a, I hate saying a writer because it sounds so pretentious, but like I think I think that gig is probably the thing I identify with the most. It's the most fun and the most natural I've ever felt doing something. But I still love art. It's just I never knew that writing a book about a fucking sad skeleton with my best friend was like a career option. And then it's like that's where we made the good money. It's like there's money in art, but there's way more in that Kickstarter. But yeah, that's my answer to that question, I think.
Well, you know, that's a pretty good answer. I think, because I've read Steve Lichtman. Like I think I have an old college buddy. His name is like Fabian Banu. Um,
Cool.
he put like he I think he put me on to Steve Lichtman, and then
That's fine.
yeah, and then essentially like I read the web comic, and essentially like I just it was just it was the funniest thing I've ever like read, in my opinion.
Oh,
Like
thanks,
it's
man.
I think my favorite like scene was I think after after it was after like Dracula got dumped by his girlfriend, and
Oh,
essentially,
sure.
yeah, and essentially like he like he like he was like just he he left behind a poem of
Yes.
of like heartbreak, and basically like the woman was like, wow, it's like he must be really on the edge, and basically like Flay was like, nah, he's not on the edge. This is like these are like song lyrics from like a '90s band. He's just
Lincoln Park lyrics, I think.
these are
Yeah.
Linkin Park's lyrics. He's just a
Yeah.
fucking loser, and
Yeah.
I just burst out into laughter. It's like it's I think I don't know the like I think Dracula. I think is I think the character that is like the funniest. Is like it's like I feel like
Yeah.
because like I never really had this the no like it's the idea of an immortal being going through a midlife crisis and like dating like
Forever.
yeah dating 18-year-olds is just
Yeah,
like
because if you're immortal, every day is a midlife crisis because there's no end. You're always in the middle. But it's like I know Dracula's based on a real person that we grew up with, and me and Dave have joked in the past that like if we could go back and do it again, it probably would have been a better business decision to just call the book Dracula because of the name recognition, and then people would be like, "Oh, it's a vampire thing," and then get kind of Trojan horsed into this like absurd comedy stuff.
yeah it'd be
But yeah,
like
no, he's the character that's the most fun to write. Everyone else we have to force a little bit. Dracula is just like turning on a faucet and it just pours out.
yeah it's I don't know it's like you ever like I don't know. It heavily reminds me of like what we do in the shadows, like that entire
Oh
TV show.
man. I know, which is weird because we wrote the book before that came out. We'd started doing the web comic for Steve before What We Do in the Shadows was a thing. And then when we were I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about with the contracts we signed for the TV stuff, but we were when we were developing the show with the first studio we were developing it with, we were adjacent to a bunch of the people that were working on the American adaptation of What We Do in the Shadows. There's a bunch of crossover, especially at our agency, and it was very weird because it was this the same kind of niche, and we were both hitting it at the same time. Even though, like, we hadn't seen What We Do in the Shadows when we wrote it, we were kind of riffing on the Venture Brothers. We were like, what if we do, like what they did for like 60s superheroes and like Johnny Quest, I think would be really funny with Dungeons and Dragons. Like that wasn't the goal in the beginning. We just kind of realized that's what we were doing after writing a few issues. We're like, oh, this is essentially like, Dracula's basically Dr. comes in and flowery language and everything's over the top. And Steve's very much Dr. Venture and the Monarch, like a straight man character next to all this insane shit. And they're like, oh, this, and they're both about failure, and they're both about the mundane. It's this, it's this juxtaposition of the mundane and the magical that I find hilarious about the Venture Brothers, where it's like everyday, day to day life about these failure, midlife crisis people, but also they have to exist in this world of superheroes and magic, and it's just those two things smashed together. Very, very funny to us. And but yeah, then What We Do in the Shadows came out, and we were like, oh, this is very similar. It's a weird parallel thinking thing in the same moment. I think they were coming at it more of it wasn't, ours is more of rooted in Dungeons and Dragons, and theirs is more rooted in making fun of like Twilight and the Lost Boys and just vampire media that was very big in the Tumblr era, just in general. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting time to see all that stuff kind of surfacing at the same time.
Mm. Yeah, no, yeah. I think I don't. I was never really, like really a huge fan of Twilight. I like it's, I I wasn't exactly a fan of like those type of vampires. I was more a
Yeah,
fan of like the like like the more scary aspect or like the more
yeah,
monstrous aspect of like vampires. Like I think it's kind of corny to say, but I really love the Van Helsing version of Dracula, where essentially it's like a
oh yeah, a ton of people did.
yeah, and it's like when I see that, it's like I don't know, it's like it's 13-year-old me was, or I think, or like 11-year-old me was like, it's like that's gay, like
Yeah,
that immature, like like it's like where you see something, it's like it's stupid. I hate this. I don't know why, but
yeah,
I hate this.
Twilight, for people that weren't the target demographic for Twilight, it was very the word cringe wasn't in the vernacular at the time, but it was
Yeah,
very cringe for a lot of people. And I think Twilight's hilarious as a comedy. Like I think those movies are very funny, and I will put them on to laugh at how silly they are. And like I don't know, but I have no connection to that lore. I have no understanding of it. I just know the memes, and I think the movies are very funny.
mm,
My vampire stuff is like when I was a kid, I remember sneaking out of bed very early in the morning at like 2 or 3 because the Sci-Fi Channel was showing Vampire Hunter D on like their midnight anime block that they used to do in the 90s.
oh
And
yeah,
I knew through osmosis that Yoshitaka Amano, the Final Fantasy guy that I knew from that VHS I mentioned earlier, I knew that he had something to do with Vampire Hunter D because my local Blockbuster had the VHS of Vampire Hunter D, and Amano's artwork was on the cover, even in the West. So I was like, oh, the Final Fantasy guy did that. It's probably awesome. And I remember staying up and watching it when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and it was the sickest thing I'd ever seen. It was that, and then my mom had a VHS copy of Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman, the Francis Ford Coppola one, and that just the every set is so beautiful, and all the art direction is so incredible, and it's so gothic and weird, and that movie is super iconic to me. Like when I think vampire, that's usually the first place my brain goes. It's too iconic. But yeah, Twilight, I will never really understand. It
yeah,
was the beginning of this thing that we're still in, of like supernatural romance, essentially. Like, young girl falls in love with a vampire, then it's a fairy, then it's a werewolf, then it's just pick a supernatural being. It's a fish man. It's and we're still that. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And wait. So this is going to translate. Oh, this is going to transition into like the second question.
Sure.
So like, who influenced your art growing up?
Who influenced my art growing up? Um, a lot of it was Nintendo Power magazines, which I didn't know his name at the time, but now I know that it was Katsuya Terada,
Oh my, oh, yeah,
who
yeah, no,
is
like I loved
yeah,
Spunky King.
Terada. So Terada was like the go-to Nintendo Power insert artist. So like I remember very specifically when Final Fantasy II came out here, which is Final Fantasy IV now. There were spot illustrations all over the player's guide and Nintendo Power of all the characters, and they looked super fucking cool. And I was like, these are amazing. And they were like, you could tell that they were drawn with like a pencil. They looked like a really elevated version of like something that I would draw in like a sketchbook. Like I didn't have his talent or his skill, but you could tell that it was a drawing. It didn't look like an airbrushed painting like a Boris Vallejo thing. It looked like a drawing that somebody did with graphite, and it was just a really fucking good drawing. And I had never seen like sketchy concept art like that. I'd only seen very finished art, like the cover for like Iron Sword or like a Frank Frazetta painting. And I was like, oh my god, like you can just do like sketchbook sketches and make it like an art form and like get in these magazines. And I was obsessed with Terada. I didn't even know his name because they didn't. I don't think they ever put his name in those magazines. But every time I could get my hands, I didn't have a subscription to Nintendo Power, but through osmosis, friends' houses, libraries, I eventually got like a small collection that I had that all had his art in it. I believe he might have done the insert art for the Final Fantasy guide in the one of the earlier issues. I know he did the Final Fantasy IV stuff. He did some Secret of Mana stuff. He did all the Zelda stuff. The Zelda stuff is so fucking iconic. I still, to this day, wish that Nintendo would make a Zelda game that looks like Terada's concept art for, Zelda 1, 2, Link's Awakening, and A Link to the Past. Like it's such an iconic look for the franchise that for some reason they haven't ever leaned into. But yeah, I'd say Terada and Amano were like the two biggest influences by far. A little later in life, I want to. When did Lord of the Rings come out? Like 98,
Yeah, I think,
ninety
yeah.
seven, something like that. I don't know. I was pretty young when they came out, but I remember that was the first time I'd ever seen an art book ever, where like I went to Borders or Barnes and Noble and it was like the art of Lord of the Rings, and I opened it up and I was like, hold on, you're telling me that like these movie companies are hiring teams of artists to draw all these costumes from these books that I love hundreds of times. And then like there was also a costume tour that went around the country at that time where you could like go to a museum and all the costumes from the movie and all the weapons and armor and all the models were just there to look at. And I was like, this is like an industry. And that's also around the time, it got big a few years later, but shortly after the Lord of the Rings movies blew up is sort of when the concept art renaissance began, because technology had gotten to a point where computer graphics were finally able to convey something that surpassed the uncanny valley and felt believable.
Hmm.
And because of that, studios were hiring more artists to create more things because special effects were getting more, possible and also cheaper. So movies could do more. And because of that, they started hiring more people, and concept art became like a little cottage industry, which led to, conceptart.org being a thing early in the days, which was like the art site. It was like the place. And
It's
that was
like
all, yeah. Go ahead.
it's like Art Station, like, but like,
Mm.
like,
It was the precursor to all that. Technically, the precursor to all that, but conceptart.org was the first one where you could go there and talk to professionals like they were normal people. That was the big thing, is the gatekeeping kind of disappeared a little bit with conceptart.org because you could just go to the sketchbook thread of a guy working on a movie and talk to the guy working on the movie, and he could look at your portfolio and give you feedback. And it was like, for the first time ever, it felt more achievable. It felt like, oh, this is like a real thing people do, and they're not like these mythological beings. They're just people I can go talk to and hang out with and, mentor with. And that was really cool. And then obviously, the Star Wars prequels also had very famous art books. And I'd say between the Star Wars prequels and Lord of the Rings, that's essentially what created what is now the industry of concept art. Like that, concept art existed before that. Like Ralph McQuarrie would do a bunch of paintings for Star Wars, and then they'd kind of cobble together some costumes that sort of looked like the artwork, but not really. But like concept art proper, the way we know it today, I think really started with Lord of the Rings and the Star Wars prequels, and that was hugely influential because I read The Hobbit when I was in fourth grade. I was a fucking nerd, and like the fact that somebody made movies out of those books and they just grabbed the illustrators from the books to design everything in the movie, like Alan Lee and stuff, like Ted Nasmith, I was like, oh, okay, like this is fucking like this is great. This is the coolest thing ever. And yeah, I don't know. See, I'd say the Lord of the Rings concept art boom, Terrata, and Amano were the big three for me personally that really got me inspired when I was younger.
All right, that's okay. I think like, could I say my influences?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a
All right,
conversation.
all right. So I think when I was growing up, I think I was around the age of 6. My
Yeah.
mom bought me basically like a trade paperback of like the original like Steve Ditko Spider-Man issues,
Hell
and
yeah. Hell yeah.
yeah, and essentially like I brought that thing with me everywhere. Like
Yeah.
class, like when I was supposed to be like paying attention at math, I was essentially like I was like my eyes were laser focused on that book. I was like, whoa, will Spider-Man beat the chameleon? It's like it's like yeah, like it's like math is like instrumental to my development, but like I really want to like get down to this, this this
Yeah.
this this conflict that Peter has here, or like just like I'd bring it to my grandma's house. I'd bring it everywhere, and then
That's
essentially like
awesome.
well, and then around the age of 7, I realized that it's like, oh wait, the person who essentially like who drew this comic that's in my hands right now at one point got paid for all this, and it's like
Yeah.
in the back, like when I was 6, like I kind of like I wasn't I'm like I felt I wasn't exactly the smartest kid. Like basically I remember essentially kind of like my teacher like essentially like stood me up in front of like the entire class, and it's like, why did you rhyme can with this other like with this other word, like
The
the answer
worst when they
man
do
was
that.
like right there.
Yeah, I hate the public shaming teaching approach. It's so backwards.
And it's like there were times where it's like it's like at like homework I had to stay up late because like I couldn't exactly pay attention to essentially like
Hmm.
the material, and like I knew that it's like, well, I'm too dumb for math, I'm too dumb for science,
Yeah.
I have to find some way to contribute to society. And I
I
thought,
failed I failed algebra 3 times, dude. I completely understand where you're coming from. I was like, whatever this is, I can't do it.
yeah, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
if I had like a career in say like rocket science or chemical engineering, I would have either like been the worst scientist, like or like the worst scientist in like two ways. I would have like made some backwards dumb theories that would have gone nowhere, or I would have
Yeah.
like caused the next Challenger, or I don't know, bro,
Give yourself a little more credit.
or like I don't know,
The Challenger.
like it's like that rocket that blew up in midair, or like
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
and it's like or I'd bring forth like a I don't know, like a zombie apocalypse and like Resident Evil like like Resident Evil series.
I'm
And
trying to think. So like you were born around 2000, yeah?
1999, like very like I was born in like the very late 90s. Like I told
Okay,
I've told this to like Girl Scrub, but like it's like if the 90s were a party, I'd be the guy who like arrived at like the very last second. Where like it's
sure.
it's like
What was like the, because I know you're talking about Spider-Man. What was like the comic book franchise for you as a kid? Like what I'm trying to think. So like when you're a kid, it's probably like 2008. So like you're just in time for like the big Batman Renaissance.
mm,
You're just in time for like the Dark Knight. You're just in time for like Marvel kicking off with Iron Man. Like what was like the big thing you remember being kind of the moment?
the moment. Well, I think it's I don't really think it was because of like the movies. I think it was because essentially like I was like I like when people were asking me like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was like a comic book writer, and
Yeah.
essentially the assistant principal for the school that I went to knew an inker by the name of Rob Stoll, and essentially
Okay.
she had him sign like a draw like a an inked proof that he like
Hmm.
there's this artist like Mike Waringo. He inked over that guy, and basically she asked if he could like sign it and like she can give it to me, and essentially I was
Yeah.
given to it, and I was like, yeah, this is it. I like to do this. It was like it wasn't because of like
That's cool.
of like a cinema blockbuster. It was I think it was because of like a more intimate moment in childhood.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I remember that. When I was a kid, I met this artist named Ed Beard Jr. who would go to the local Renaissance fair in my town every summer, and he would dress up, and he was this oil painter. And the reason it was so cool meeting him in person was he was one of the very first Magic the Gathering illustrators.
wow.
So it was like I had a similar experience where like you meet the person and they're like, oh, like this is you can do this. Like this is a guy who's doing this for a living. That's crazy. Yeah, it's very formative.
Yeah, it's like like that kind of like that I kind of like carried that with me, like
Yeah,
that moment with me like everywhere I kind of like I go, where it's like
yeah,
it's like it's like meeting a person who is like in who is like in the industry, and
sure.
it's kind of like that proof where it's like, oh, okay, you can do this, you can do this very cool thing, and
Hmm.
that was kind of like the moment for me, and also like for like the as far as influences go, like I think I think I have so many influences. It's kind of it's like there's Kim Jung Gi, of course. There's like Dave
Yeah,
Raposa. There's like the work that
yeah,
you and Dave did with like Steve Lichman. There's Ryan Otley, like the guy who basically who made like who co-created Invincible. Daniel Warren
yep,
Daniel Warren Johnson,
yep.
and it's like it's 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 kind of like this. It's to basically if I were to name all of them, like
Yeah, there's too many.
there's too many, and like we'd be here for
Yeah,
hours.
yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
That's good though. That means you're passionate about it, and you have a long library of things you're pulling from. That's a good thing.
yeah, 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 and it's just like I keep on finding like new people every day, like especially with like
Yeah,
with the internet and like ArtStation, and it's like
I know. It's so crazy how many people you can find now that do this, and how awesome so many of them are.
it's like it's just like when you like find their stuff, it's like you just become obsessed with like
Yeah,
with like what they're doing and how they're doing it. It's like I think Brad Rigney was like a very big
yeah,
like a big example of that, where essentially it's like you look at his stuff and it's like, how is this even possible?
yeah. I
It looks
remember literally the day Brad showed up on the scene and everybody talking about him. He just like appeared out of nowhere like a fucking magical being. We're like, who the fuck is this guy? Where's he been? He just like was like training in a fucking cave somewhere and just showed up like, here I am, fully formed. I was like, what?
it's like the Avatar. He just showed up and just
Yeah,
started
it's
like
nuts. He's like, oh yeah, I've just been practicing art secretly and getting really good at it offline, and now I'm here. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? But yeah, Brad's also a wonderful human. I love Brad.
Yeah, I listened. I've listened to like the podcast between like you and Brad and like Dave. Like I think a lot of times. Like
Yeah,
there'd be times where essentially like I'd be at like Costco with my parents. Like they'd be like looking at like it's like discounts and like prices. It's like and then
yeah.
they'd ask me to like put something in the cart and I'd just be in another world like just listening to you and Brad. It's like it's like
Brad's
okay, so
the
how
best.
many? It's like how many times do I have to study to like get to that level? Like just like
He's
trying to
like
like
one of the most. He's like one of the most human people I've met in the industry. Who's just like a down to earth, was willing to give his time and his heart and his soul to you in a conversation. He's just very unpretentious, very unfiltered. He's just a really solid dude.
yeah. It's honestly it's kind of like just a breath of fresh air, especially in the kind of
Yeah,
like the art world, you know,
yeah,
where you or that's like that's just that's just common.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just it's influences. They're just they're everywhere. I
Yeah,
think.
that's good, man.
Hmm. This also goes to like the third question. It's like, what were your highs and lows freelancing, or like just being in like leading this career in general?
I'd say the highest highs were like when I first started getting paid work. It was very like very indie and weird, but like my first paid work was like drawing people's World of Warcraft characters. And it was like, oh, and I'm like making, $100 a piece for like drawing. So it's like, this is cool. And just the fact that I could make money doing that for just people, not even companies, just people liked my stuff and they were willing to pay me to do that. That was like a big boost. That felt really cool. And then when I freelanced through college, but I wasn't getting like super good work. I was getting enough to like skate by, but I wasn't getting anything crazy. I'd say the next big high was I started working for Pathfinder, and I was doing tabletop RPG art, and then that turned into doing miniature art for Mears, and I just did a lot of RPG work, and that was when I like that was the period where I was like, okay, maybe I'll be a concept artist, because I was just pumping out like 10 characters a week, just like here's a bunch of portraits, here's a bunch of miniatures, here's more portraits, here's some figure designs, here's some monsters. Like I was just machining out stuff, and it was very interesting and gratifying period, because I was just like drowning in work. It was just constantly like I couldn't keep up with it, and then that led to probably my, I don't know, it's probably the biggest IP I've worked on was the Michael Bay Transformers movies. Like I worked on Age of Extinction as a advertising artist. I did a lot of renders of the robots before the movie was done being filmed, because the way that that industry works is the computer graphics aren't often done until very shortly before release. They're sometimes working on those CG elements all the way up to like a couple weeks before the movie gets sent to theaters, and they're tweaking stuff. So they would I remember because Wes Burt was working on the concept art team in LA, and I was working for Hasbro at an outsourced team doing advertising for the movie in Boston. And just because I knew I was friendly with Wes, I would be like, "What the fuck is this robot supposed to be?" And like he couldn't tell me because of NDAs, like he couldn't show me anything, but he'd be like, "Well, it's kind of like a samurai, or like it's like a pterodactyl, but like it's got two heads, and like because like we were just in the dark. We'd get these prompts, and it would be like, okay, he's a Bugatti and he turns into a samurai, and this is like an unfinished 3D render of his face, and like kind of just figure out the rest on your own. Like they didn't have like finished concept art or finished CG they could give us. So my task was once a week. I had to submit a finished render at 10,000 pixels tall, 600 DPI, because these advertising images were used for everything from toy boxes to being printed on the side of skyscrapers to being put on trains in Korea. Like they had to scale up to insanely huge sizes. And that was the first like salaried, like high paying Hollywood adjacent job I ever got. That was a big step. And it came at a weird time because me and Dave thought we were going to open a little studio and do our book Skull and Shark that we hadn't done yet in Boston. And I moved up to Boston to start a little studio and do that with Dave. And to pay for that, I had taken on a huge amount of freelance. I took on two miniature Kickstarter contracts that were a year long. I took on a bunch of Pathfinder work. I took on some second party D&D work for like an outsourced company that was making modules. I took on some video game stuff. Me and Dave were starting to make comics at that point, so that was happening like in the background. I was also doing Crimson Daggers and streaming all the time and running mentorships and oh god, there were so many freelance jobs going on at the same time there. I'm forgetting some. I know that I couldn't turn down the Transformers job because it was too big a step in my career. I had to say yes to it because the money was too good and the exposure was too good and the connections were too good. But when I took that job on, when I went into the studio, this was like a high and a low. This was like a high point and a low point. I had so many contracts that I had signed up for when I did the Transformers job that I would wake up at 4 in the morning. I would go to the studio in South Boston, and from 5 to 9, I would do my miniatures and Dungeons and Dragons freelance. Then I would work an 8 hour day, 9 to 5, doing Transformers work. Then from 5 to about 10 p.m., I'd put in another 5 hours at the end of the night, finishing up all my other freelance. Then I would go home and I would sleep for maybe 5 hours each night.
Damn.
And I did that for months. That was like that was like the most on the grind I'd ever been in my entire career. And I realized very quickly when I was doing that was not something I was particularly good at. It felt good in the moment. It felt good to like have a ton of work and to just be very focused and to be like, I'm gonna go into the office. I'm gonna do a ton. I'm gonna like overachieve. I'm gonna. But it was also like I couldn't have any kind of social life. I couldn't date anybody. I couldn't go out and like even exercise at the gym. I had zero time. I was like sacrificing sleep hours just to get everything done, and I had no time for family, friends, anything. And I did that for a very long time. And at the end of it, I was like, I don't think this is a I think this was a good experience to push myself and see what I can do, and I'm glad I did it, but it was not something I wanted to sign up for long term because, you know, you're not sleeping. I gained a ton of weight. Your hormones get all fucked up. It's not a great lifestyle to be stuck in for more than a, you know, very set duration where you have like an escape plan. And so yeah, that was a very high point. It felt like I had that was the first time I felt like I had like succeeded in like a career. I was like, okay, I'm doing real stuff. I can go out to stores and my stuff is like on the walls. I go to the movie theater and stuff that I painted is like on standees that are like, next to the popcorn, and like things I'm doing are like showing up in like magazines and advertisements, and like I'm like a real art guy now. So that was cool. But it was also way too much. Um I'd say the highest point ever in the career was doing our first and second Kickstarters for the Steve Lichman books, because I had no idea how big those were going to get and how many we were going to sell, and I had no clue that it was just going to, become a livelihood for a decade after that. Like that was remarkably fulfilling and so much fun and a ton of work. Like, me and Dave grinded like hell to get those books out. Like he was drawing 6, 7 pages a day. I was coloring 6, 7 pages a day every day for months to just like, we can finish a book in less than 6 months if we want to. It's just a killer thing. And then, selling the rights to those as a TV show and working on Hollywood stuff was very that was also another one where it's like a super high point and a super low point, because it's like that was the most fun gig ever, and it was like the highest paying gig ever, and it was so exciting, and then it all fell apart. So it was like a big rise and then a big crash. It's like that was another one that was kind of a high and a low. But yeah.
Wow. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised you can essentially kind of like just make out what the robots looked like in Transformers, because
Some of them we got wrong. Some of them we absolutely got wrong. And it was, the movie would come out and I never watched the movie, but it's funny to work on something and then never go see it. But like, I remember we got the 3D renders after the movie came out, and I was like, oh, this one was just incorrect. Like, this was just wrong. Like, we had no fucking clue what this was. Like, I think it was like Galvatron or something. We completely fucked up. There was another one that had like a beard made out of like cables, and I think in the movie he didn't like necessarily have that or something. And there's a couple of the dinosaurs that just weren't, but we just had to aim in the dark and shoot and hope that we hit get as close as we possibly could.
like
It was a very weird job. It was fun though.
it's like like no offense to like it's like a to Wes and like any people in like the Transformers like the Transformers concept team or like
Yeah.
it's like I don't know, as a kid when I saw that like I was like this I can't what what is that? It's like I could tell that
Yeah.
it's a robot, but it's like it's like I can't. It's just this giant blah of like metal parts just going up and down. It's like the only.
Yeah.
It's like I could.
Those movies came from a very specific era of more is more instead of less is more, where like CG had just gotten to a point, like I was talking about earlier, where they could do really impressive stuff that had never been seen before with CG. And instead of like, faithfully recreating the designs from the cartoons the way they did in like the later Bumblebee movie or something, there was this weird period in Hollywood where everybody was obsessed with real. Everything had to be real. We're gonna do the real version of this. We're gonna do Batman, but he's gonna be like real. It's gonna be like if a real guy was Batman. None of the cartoony shit. So everything has to be real and it has to be believable and gritty. And I don't know what kicked that off because I believe the Transformers movies came out before the Batman movies. A lot of people blame The Dark Knight and Batman Begins for kicking off that trend of everything's got to be real. But I believe the Transformers movies came out before those. I believe Transformers came out like 2001. So, and they made a ton of money. So like that could have been what kicked it off. But part of making stuff seem quote unquote real is like, okay, well, if there's going to be this giant robot, it's going to be made of a bunch of intricate little moving parts, and everything has to make sense, and we got to over design everything, and we got to have like engineers come in and like every little servo and every little rotating thing has to be exactly right because we're making it real. And the work the artist did on those movies is very impressive work. It's
Of
just
course.
it's one of those things where if you give people too much stuff to focus on, you don't really know where to look, and it can sometimes become a bit of a mess. But like the concept art that like Wes and all those guys did for those movies is like phenomenal, and it's like great interpretations of those characters for what that movie was going for. It's just when they animated it and put it on the screen, it was like so much was happening. Like it was very technically impressive, but it was like sensory overload. It was like fucking crazy how much stuff was happening. And yeah, no, I completely understand what you're saying.
Hmm.
It's just that there's a very weird period in Hollywood where everybody had to be doing more and it had to be real.
No, honestly, there's like this there's this animated movie about like Optimus Prime and like Megatron, and
Yeah.
honestly, it's like they could have just done that, and that would have
Yeah.
been like that much more money. I don't,
It was also it was a weird era of I don't know what to call it. It was like a weird era where they knew that these IPs that were popular with kids of a certain age were like huge cash grabs. Like they knew that they were just gonna print money by taking these toy IPs and making movies out of them. But they were like ashamed to make them kids movies because they wanted like mass market appeal or something. So they had to make them like adult and cool and badass. So like another part of them shying away from the cartoony stuff, it honestly might have been, I don't know, it might have been a holdover from those Batman movies fucking crashing in the 90s, like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin,
I like
where like they went full cartoony with like Schwarzenegger and all that. Like, I don't know, but there's this weird period of like shame in Hollywood where they were like, nerdy stuff can't be nerdy. We have to make it cool and badass. And if there's cartoony stuff, we got to get rid of it. Like, Scarecrow can't be a guy in a scarecrow mask walking around laughing, going, hey, 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 and spraying gas. He's got to be a twisted, dark psychologist with a scary mask that's actually like very spooky. And everything has to make sense. And we have to explain how all Batman's gadgets work. And like, just this weird period where like they were kind of like ashamed, I think, to do, or like they didn't want to be made fun of. So like they didn't want to do like the cartoony, big, clunky robot designs. They wanted to make cool, badass ones that you could feel like a cool kid for looking at. This isn't like, this isn't a kid's cartoon. This is fucking Michael Bay. This is Transform. It's so sick. Like, it was very, I don't know. It was just this weird era where they couldn't be authentic to the IP. They had to make everything badass. They had to make it super cool. Same thing with the Ninja Turtles reboot that Michael Bay did, where he's like, the Ninja Turtles are kind of lame. Let's make like cool. What if the Ninja Turtles were real? What if we make them like these over detailed kind of CG abominations and we cover them with shit, and like you take these iconic designs and you just destroy them by covering them with just stuff. And like that was just a weird era in Hollywood where everything had to be real and everything had to be covered in shit. Just way too much detail. Like that Leonardo design from that Ninja Turtles reboot where he's got like goggles and like tape decks hanging off of him and like fucking science equipment just like strapped all over his body. It's like, what are we doing, guys? Like you just need a bandana and a staff. Like it's already popular. You don't need to do this, but they were like compelled for some reason.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, when that came out, I never like. When I saw that, I was like, that is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. It's like, it's like
Yeah.
I like I grew up with like who didn't with like the Ninja Turtles, and like I was like so I was like
Yeah.
I was so invested in the cartoons, and essentially when I saw that, I was like, why? What did you do?
Yeah.
Like
And that kept going. That kept going and going and going all the way till the fucking Sonic the Hedgehog movie, where they were like, "Here's our real Sonic the Hedgehog, and
and
he's
it's like
got fucking teeth." And it's like, "Oh no!" And like that was the first time people were like, "Actually, we don't want this." And the studio had to go back and actually like make an authentic design to the IP. And that, I give a lot of credit to that Sonic movie for kind of breaking that trend, which is good because now we're getting things that look like the source material finally, and it's a big relief.
yeah, and it honestly is.
But yeah.
Okay. Um. What is your experience being a writer in the entertainment industry?
Can you be more specific?
Like, hmm,
There's a lot of experiences being a writer in the entertainment industry.
like say I don't know, like how'd you break in as a writer, or just it's like, or the projects that you've essentially kind of like worked on,
Oh,
or
sure.
yeah, what did you learn about like
Yeah.
essentially like the entertainment industry when you're being a writer? Because essentially it's like I hear like you ever like it's seeing like these YouTube channels where like Critical Drinker, or say
Oh, yeah, I've seen some stuff from them.
and like it's like they kind of like just they make a lot of assumptions when it comes to
They're
essentially like
very cynical. And sometimes they're right, but they are extremely cynical always. That's like their default mode is like extreme cynicism, which I can understand. There's a lot of weird shit in Hollywood, and decisions aren't necessarily made on merit all the time, and there's a lot of strange shit going on at with a lot of the people that work in the industry. But I don't know. Yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about. My experience mostly is uh, people like money, like essentially is all it is. Like we did our Kickstarters and the books blew up, and like we never looked for an agent. An agent came and found us and was like, "Hey, I saw that your Kickstarters blew up. I think I can sell this as a TV show. Can I sign you and let me do this?" And we got reached out to by a few agents, and we went with the one that we went with because we liked him and we liked his vibe, and he wasn't super Hollywood man. Like me and Dave both, we both really hate the super Hollywood people because I don't know, we're very, I hate saying this, it's so cringe, but it's true. We're both very like Boston born and bred, and there's a weird like Goodwill Hunting type mentality here, where like if you're like a person that shows off and like sniffs your own farts and thinks you're cool, like we kind of just want to beat the shit out of you, like always.
Not, I
It's
don't,
it's
I don't
it's
think.
this weird. It's just this weird thing from where we grew up, where like you can't brag about yourself and you can't be impressed with your own success, or you're gonna get the shit kicked out of you, and that's a very South Shore Boston mentality, and very quickly on in Hollywood, even before we were writing, just doing jobs for people in Hollywood. When you meet the super Hollywood people and like just the lingo they use and the way they talk about themselves and the ego, it's just oh boy, it's a lot. But like the agent that we signed with was none of that. He's a very genuine, awesome guy. He actually read the books. He didn't talk to us like we were babies. Like I remember the first agent that ever reached out to us was like, "All right, boys, I got you this deal, and you're not gonna believe it. The people from the grocery store what the fuck was the grocery store movie called, where it's like the hot dogs talking and it was like an adult humor fucking
Oh, sausage
theft
party, that thing.
sausage party, yes, they were like, we got the team from Sausage Party and they're interested in your book, and they were like, you guys are gonna be the next raunchy adult comedy, you're gonna print money. And me and Dave were like, no, we don't think that's a good fit for us, like, we're gonna hold out. And I remember the agent was like, well, you know what? I'm not a doctor, but I think you guys might be allergic to money. And I was
Dude,
like,
no.
we're never signing with you. Like you said, that is the most cringe thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, and I'm never gonna sign with you. And that same studio, after we chose not to do that, flew an intern out here to Newport, Rhode Island, where I was living at the time. And they flew an intern out to wine and dine me to convince me to sign with their studio. And I kid you not, he took me out and he thought he was impressing me. He took me out for lobster. And I was like, dude, I live in New England. Like, I'm not impressed by a like what the fuck is this? Like you think like what is going on in your mind where I said no and I don't want this deal, and you fly an intern out here against his will, based like he didn't want to do this, and you give him a fucking company credit card to take me out for fucking lobster. Like I'm from New England. Like I'm not impressed by a fucking lobster. And yeah, it was just this very weird Hollywood hard sell attitude that we fucking hate. But luckily our agent is none of that. The experience I've had writing in Hollywood is it's very hard to get a consensus because there's essentially a million people working on every project. There's the writers, which would be me and Dave. Then there's the producers, which are other people that are a little more established in the industry they bring on to also write and to edit the scripts. Then there are the studio heads who have to go through and say, this is what we like, this is what we don't like, edit this stuff. Then there's the higher ups who look at that after it goes through that. Then there's the standards and practices people who have to go through it and say, we can do this, we can't do that. And by the end of it, it's like a too many cooks situation where you could start with something really awesome and very authentic and something that feels really good. And by the time the process is done, you don't even recognize it. It's like this mangled fucking thing. And like I don't know. There's also weird mandates where like we were told like basically right away like you gotta have a female character. You just have to. And we were like, okay, like we have some in the book, but they're not like me and Dave aren't we never, we're not girls, and we didn't grow up with a lot of friends that were girls. So like we don't really know how to write that in a respectful way. And we don't want to like tokenize a female character. So like we're not quite sure what to do. They're like, okay, yeah, we get that, but like you have to have one. You just gotta do it. And like weird weird mandates like that where they'll just say you just have to do a thing because it has to have this. There's like a checklist of this has to be here, this has to be here. We need to appeal to this, we need to appeal to that. And what once all that stuff's kind of done and boiled down and you like have your checklist of here's what they're expecting, and here's all the targets we got to hit, and here's all the people we have to please. It's relatively easy to, I don't know, for me and Dave at least, it's relatively easy to turn out a script pretty quick once we know what the parameters are of like what we can do, what we can't do, what they want, what we want. I'd say probably on average 80% of your ideas get cut and left on the cutting room floor, or you have to edit around them. So like I think we did like 27 versions of the script before we had one that was approved that was ready to go to animation. And the first script we did looked absolutely nothing like the last script we did. Like to the point where like there were whole characters that were cut. The plot was completely different, the settings were different, like iterating and iterating and iterating and iterating until everybody's happy, and refining it down to a thing that looks almost nothing like what you started out with was very, very core in the process. We did learn a ton. Like I'm very grateful for the more experienced writers that we work with who, were just very good at saying, hey, this is a funny idea. It doesn't need to be this long. You can get the same laugh with, half the words, or kind of a like a kill your babies approach of like, you think this is super funny and maybe it is, but is there a better way to do it, and is it necessary? Like there were a lot of jokes that we had in the first couple scripts that we still think are very funny, but they were just there because they were funny. They didn't serve the plot. They didn't move anything forward. They didn't have any like purpose in the script. They weren't furthering any of the stuff that was happening. They were just there for gags. And being able to learn how to cut that stuff and not feel like you're losing something, and like just understanding that the quality of the writing can serve a greater whole, like the script feeling cohesive and not just a series of funny things that are happening, was really beneficial. Yeah, we learned a ton. I wouldn't have traded, even though it didn't work out in the end, I wouldn't trade the experience we had for anything. It was very, very good to learn that. After we did that, we worked on a couple ad campaigns for companies that I can't talk about because they're still under NDA. But that was fun. Companies brought us on to be like, we want to advertise this new thing we're doing, and we want to do it in like a funny way, that people will like. And like, one of the big ones we did that I can't unfortunately talk about the details of was we couldn't use any like adult humor, which like our books are full of adult humor. So that was a really fun challenge to like, can we do something that's just as funny as what we're doing in the books, that we like just as much, but have it be all very silly jokes that are appropriate for all ages. And that was a really, really good challenge for us, and it was super, we loved the end result. And hopefully that's going to come out in the next couple years. We did it during COVID, but because of like stuff we talked about earlier, everything is just delayed indefinitely, and I don't know when it's going to come out. But we did basically an entire graphic novel for this company I can't talk about, advertising this thing, and it's like a secret comic that like I can't really get into the details, but it's huge. It's like 80 something pages that we did and fully illustrated, and it's very funny, and we loved it, and hopefully people will be able to see it. And then you get other weird jobs, like we did some writing for Magic the Gathering on their Planeswalkers book, and that was another one where it was more collaborative than like us doing the thing that we just came in wanting to do. That was another one where it's like, okay, they're like, what kind of story would you want to tell with these characters? And we pitched some stuff, and they were like, cool. And then after we turned in a draft, they came back and they were like, the higher ups are thinking maybe we want it to be more about this character getting married, and can you fit that into the script? And it's like, well, there's not a lot of room to fit that in, but we can try. And then you massage it and you kind of play around with it until you get something that feels kind of finished. But like, that was another one where like we were really grateful for the opportunity and we enjoyed working on it. But it was very it's one of those things where sometimes you get given a blank canvas, and you're like, go do the thing you want to do, and you're like, okay, cool, and you do it. And then other times, clients want something very specific, but they don't want to tell you that they want it, and they kind of like let you do a thing and then massage the thing they secretly wanted from the beginning into it. And those jobs are I don't know. I don't know if it's something where like people don't want to like hurt your feelings or something, but it's like just tell us up front that you want this specific set of stuff and we can work it in. It's much easier to go in knowing what somebody expects than to try to slowly build up to it as you iterate. But that was also, it was just it was a good experience. It was good working with Boom, and yeah, I don't know, it was cool. I think it was Boom. I can't remember actually who the publisher was. I think it was Boom. But but yeah, it was fun working on that IP, and yeah, I don't know. We've done some other advertising stuff, but I unfortunately cannot speak about it due to contracts. But yeah, that's been my experience. It's typically very fun. It's a big learning curve, and there's usually too many cooks in the kitchen. Unfortunately, there's just a lot of people that have to sign off on these brands and these things before they can get greenlit to go to TV because there's so much money involved in it. But yeah.
Okay, so wait, so you're saying there's no woke agenda that these guys are talking about?
The only thing I ever encountered personally that was like that, I wouldn't call it the woke agenda, was just can you guys please add a female character? Because it's like Steve Dracula Flay. It's very like it's kind of like the Always Sunny thing, where like originally in Always Sunny it was just the three guys and D wasn't a character, and I believe FX told them like you gotta add a woman. I can't remember how the story went exactly, but I know that they were basically told like we have to have someone here for that demographic. It can't just be this. That's the only thing we ever encountered that was even remotely close to the woke agenda was just, hey, can you add a female? And we were like, yeah. We had a female that we had written for our third book who is now not in the third book because when you develop something for TV and the book hasn't been published yet, the TV studio owns it. So, like, let's say theoretically you were writing a book. Let's say that you've already written a book, okay, and it's about a fish man, and people love the fish man book, and you sell it to a TV studio, and you know in your head that when you're going to write the sequel to the Fishman book, there's going to be a fish woman. You know that, but the book hasn't come out yet. You haven't written it yet. If you go develop that into a show for the TV studio, and the fish woman's first appearance is in the TV show, they're going to claim that she is a creation of that intellectual property, and they now own that character. So, like, even though we had a female character in the works that we were going to make one of the main people in the third book, she is now owned by a TV development studio that we are no longer currently working with. So she probably, I mean, not probably, she won't be appearing in the book. But hopefully something happens with that script that we sold someday, and people can see all the stuff we wrote for that character because we did enjoy a lot of it.
All right,
But yeah, no woke agenda that I've encountered.
all right, all right, all right. No, because that's actually kind of interesting. Because like it's like, I think throughout most of college, it's embarrassing. I've been inundated with this stuff, like
Yeah.
like for example, like Ethan Van Sciver. Like, do you know?
Oh yeah, the I know roughly about the Comicsgate
Yeah,
stuff. Is
yeah,
that what I'm thinking of?
yeah.
He
That
did
was
like Cyberfrog. I am woefully uninformed on the Comicsgate stuff. I've heard it boiled down to like we just want more sexy women in comics, and I've heard other people say it's about integrity, and I never really followed any of it. If I'm being completely honest, I don't really know what any of it's about, so I can't give a informed take on it.
yeah.
But
I'm,
yeah,
I followed it. I followed it, but I think it's. I feel like I can't, but I feel it's like I think what I could say is that it's like a I think it's kind of like a terrible reflection on like the comic book industry, not because of like of any of the woke agenda, or it's kind of like where it's like you know like one it's like a I think the one problem that I have with the comic book industry is that it's like one it's like I think for years it's had like this woeful history of like basically just like one exploiting like many of the talent that essentially
yeah,
that gave them like these characters that generate like a shit ton of profits for them today. Like what happened to Alan Moore and then like Jack Kirby
Oh
alone
yeah,
is just
sure,
like
yeah,
is insanely shameful. And I think
100%.
so far it's like I think it just shows that the comic book industry is like it's I think it's like it's way more disorganized than like or in like more like in like a bad shape than I kind of thought, because essentially it's like everyone's kind of like infighting, everyone's gossiping, like instead of essentially kind of just being professionals and like and
I
like
mean, that's the case with all industries. There's a ton of that in concept art too. I had 4chan threads about me ripping me apart and like just dissecting my friendship with Dave for years.
oh really?
Like people are just kind of, oh yeah, people are just like that everywhere. Anywhere where ego is tied into your image or the industry, anywhere like, because art's a really hard career. You have to put a ton of work into it, and it's inevitable that if you're sacrificing, social stuff and relationships and your health and your mental health to get really good at art, your ego is going to be tied up in it. And if you see somebody succeeding and you feel like they don't deserve it, a lot of people get really triggered by that and they get very upset. And a lot of people thought that I was deserving of, I guess I should say undeserving of the stuff that I had. And yeah, there's a ton of that in all industries where your ego is, and whether it's food, whether it's concept art, whether it's Hollywood, whether it's comics, any industry where the creator's ego comes from the thing that they're putting out. It's mostly creative industries. That kind of gossiping and infighting and weird toxicity is going to rear its head, because so much of people's self-worth is tied into the product they're making. And if they think other people are getting a boost that they should have gotten instead, that shit flares up like crazy. But
I mean,
yeah,
I kind of find that surprising. Like, that makes sense, but in the end, it's like I kind of find that surprising because it's like, I don't know. But for some of like, for a lot of the professionals in the industry, like comic book industry, not in the concept art industry so much, because like the
yeah,
comic book art like the concept artist industry, it's like they're tied to industries that are worth billions of dollars, like
sure,
film and video games. So they they don't exactly have problems when it comes to essentially like paying for like I don't know a dentist appointment or rent
yeah,
or on some level groceries or gas. But when it comes
yeah,
to comic books, like it's they're all like they're all in rough financial shape, and it's like
yeah. It's not doing good for sure.
it's like you're so focused on like your ego when it came to like when it comes to essentially just like comic books, but it's like
Right.
you should be focused on the fact that it's like you can't like you should be focused on the fact that you're not able to basically like afford basic health care. I feel like that's like one thing that I think professionals in that industry, instead of just spending so much time on Twitter like
Yeah.
arguing, it's like focus on that, but for some reason they just don't, and it's just
Yeah.
baffling to me. I think it's like Ryan like talks about this all the time, where it's like they don't exact they artists they do not like they do not like effectively like vouch for themselves in any way that could be healthy for them, and I feel like
No.
that's like a big example.
And I will say a big part of a big part of the Comicsgate thing, and it was also a big part of the Gamergate thing, is like I think a lot of these people that are, quote unquote creators, but they end up making more money from becoming like, I don't know what to call it, like thought
Pundits.
leaders of these movements. They end up becoming like figureheads of these movements. And like, if you attach yourself to a divisive enough issue that enough people believe in, like let's say that I'm not going to name any names because I don't know any of the people involved in the Comicsgate thing super well, but let's say that let's say you're a comic book artist who's struggling and you're not making a ton of money, and this Comicsgate thing blows up. If you start making a ton of YouTube videos and you're really hammering your side of the argument for Comicsgate, and you're becoming like the mouthpiece of like, this is wrong and we got to do this and we got to stand for this, and you start getting an army of people under you that really, really resonate with what you're saying, you might end up making more money talking about that stuff on YouTube than you ever made doing the comics themselves. And a switch will flip in your head where it's like, oh, well, this is my livelihood now. I'm no longer comic books guy. I'm guy who talks about comic books. It's sort of like I don't know. There's like this guy. Remember when have you ever heard of Sargon of Akkad?
Oh yeah, yeah, Sargon of Akkad. But I think
Yeah.
he was super huge and like the GamerGate cornered the
Yeah.
internet, and then he
So
actually had a political career, and it just like it fell flat on
he's
its face.
he was a game developer before any of that stuff happened, and he was making a game I think called like Necromancer, and he was, he never put out a game or anything, but then Gamergate happened, and his videos about Gamergate got so huge that he was making more money talking about the issue than he was doing the thing that led him into the issue. And then he just kind of abandoned that thing and became guy who talks about stuff online because there was more money in that than there was chasing the thing he was doing originally. And it's like I think that's dangerous for people. I think that's a weird audience capture thing you can fall into where again, I don't know anything about what happened with Comicsgate. I didn't follow it. I'm a little more familiar with Gamergate, not super. I know some of the stuff about that. I wasn't super close into it, but this thing can happen where you'll find more success being angry about a thing you care about than you ever find actually doing the thing you care about. And if you end up making that your livelihood, it kind of sucks because it traps you in this box of you have to kind of hate it forever. You have to find new reasons to complain about it because you've built up an audience that wants to see you get mad about stuff. And then that's it. That's your life. Like once you rely on that for enough time, you can't really get out of that trap. It's okay, people are coming here to see me get mad about the woke agenda or whatever it is. And it's like, if something comes out that doesn't have that stuff in it, your audience doesn't want to hear, hey, I like this thing. They want to hear you get mad. That's what they're here for. So you have to like kind of force yourself to get mad all the time about stuff. And I think that can lead to really bad, just kind of traps for creators that they can't get out of. Because like, I think people would be a lot happier if they could just make the stuff that they want to see in the industry, like kind of be the change you want to see. But there's so much more money in just being mad about it that so many people just get mad about it and just talk about it endlessly without changing anything. But I don't know, that's just the pattern I've seen is there's just so much money in outrage that it's just, it's way more lucrative to talk about why movies suck on YouTube than to go try and make movies.
It's easier to be a critic than a creator. It's
For sure.
it's like
Yeah.
it's you see a lot of like YouTubers who are like aspiring filmmakers, and it's like, okay, that's cool. What's your filmography? It's
Yeah.
like, no, I don't have one. I've just made. I think the only thing I have to my name are just like video essays critiquing Star Wars, and that's it.
Yeah, and the sad thing for me with a lot of these people that fall into that trap is like they were creators that loved a thing and they're no longer doing that thing. And a lot of the I don't know, I feel like a lot of the anger that I feel that's directed towards, the stuff they're critiquing is really just anger that their career didn't, they hoped it would, or that, they're not pursuing the thing that necessarily fulfills them. It's sort of like I don't know. It's like it's like was it L. Ron Hubbard, the Scientology guy, who he wanted to be like a big Hollywood writer guy, and like he kind of wasn't like allowed in the club, and it didn't really work out, and he got so fucking mad about that he just like went off the fucking deep end. Or I don't know. There's a lot of that with like Steve Bannon, like the political guy. Like he wanted to be a Hollywood dude, and he kind of wasn't really allowed into the club. So then he was like, "Fuck the elites! I'm gonna be anti. I'm gonna burn it all down because they wouldn't let me in." And there's a weird phenomenon with that where
It's
people that are very passionate about a thing that aren't allowed to pursue that thing end up just tearing the thing down because they're not allowed to fulfill the role that they want to be able to fulfill inside of it. And I think that's sad because a lot of these people start off as really ambitious, creative, positive people, and then for whatever reason, it's not their fault. I'm not saying it's their fault, but for whatever reason, they can't fulfill that thing, and it just becomes this acidic like vinegar like over time, and it just the resentment of like that dream not working out or whatever happened that took them off the path, I think feeds into this cottage industry of, okay, well, if I can't build it, I can tear it down. And at least if I'm tearing it down, I'm still close to the thing that I love. It's like I'm still adjacent to the film industry or the comic industry or the art industry. I'm still in the orbit of this thing that I am passionate about. But if they're not going to let me be a part of building it up, I'm going to be a part of ripping it apart. And it's just unfortunate that that's like a it's so rewarded. Like you can make so much more money doing that shit than actually doing the stuff that's being critiqued.
Yeah, yeah. I think one big example of that is like the Daily Wire. This is like video, like
Mm.
that basically like describes the pipeline. Essentially, like you see like these like conservative pundits, and it's like you see early videos of them, and they're like they're like very talented. They're like they have like they're very passionate about essentially like pursuing a career in music
Yeah.
or acting. Like Ben Shapiro, like he's actually like he's a really decent like violinist, and then essentially something
He plays
happens.
the violin?
Yeah, he plays the violin.
I
Like
didn't know that.
yeah, like if you search on like if you search on like YouTube, there's it's
That's
like
very funny.
and like you like put Ben Shapiro and
Violin.
violin in like the same like like
Oh
there's
man.
like a video of essentially like Ben Shapiro when he was like back when he was like 12 years old playing
Yeah.
like playing whatever. There's like dozens of videos of essentially just of Ben Shapiro just basically just playing violin at synagogue or like like at his home, and
Yeah.
it's like I think I've seen one video or two, and he's actually not that bad.
That's funny.
He's pretty decent.
I wonder how that feeds into what he ended up doing.
Oh, well, what did he do?
Well, I mean, he's like a political commentator guy. I wonder if he like went to music school or anything, or if it was just a hobby, or like it's the point A to point B on some of these people where they're like, oh, I started off as this and I ended up as this is like such a crazy leap sometimes. It's really interesting to follow how they ended up where they ended up.
Yeah, it's
It's like James Cameron was a matte painter and he like did like all the backgrounds for like Escape from New York and he did these like amazing matte paintings and then he was like, I think I'm gonna try directing and he made like Terminator and fucking explodes. Like I don't know. It's funny because like he's just an illustrator. Like that was his whole thing. He wasn't like trying to be a director as far as I know. He was like a big art guy. He considered himself an artist, and then he just became a director.
yeah. Honestly,
But yeah,
I thought he was just a director, but then like I saw like basically his work, and honestly,
mm,
I was very impressed. Like especially with his like
yeah,
early concept for Avatar, that was like
incredible.
that was like holy shit. Like
Or like Frank Frazetta is like he just wanted to be a baseball player, and like he just accidentally was like phenomenal at art and just revolutionized an industry. But like that was never like his goal. He was like, I just want to play baseball.
honestly,
But yeah,
I kind of look up to Frank Frazetta. It's like apparently like some of the women in his
oh, it's his wife.
that's his
Yeah,
wife, and it's like God damn
yeah,
it, that is so
yep.
cool. It's
He's
like
just like, this is my life. I'm gonna lift weights, play baseball, paint my hot wife, sleep with my hot wife, lift more weights, smoke a cigarette. It's very like I don't know. It's this very 1950s hyper masculine version of being a working artist that I think is very funny.
it's like God
But
damn
yeah,
it, that's who I wanted to be. It's like me like you're doing all this cool shit. Meanwhile, I get scared when I draw like the left eye. It's like oh God, I don't
yeah.
want it to be wrong. You know.
His shit, so much of his shit was just he didn't want to do it, so he just did it fast because he just I don't want to whatever. It pays the bills. Like
I
one of
don't.
his most famous paintings is the one of like the Neanderthal dudes walking forwards in the mist. I can't remember the name of it. And like he painted that in one night and he didn't have any canvas, so he tore a floorboard out of the floor of his apartment or his house. And he was like, I don't want to do this job. It's fucking stupid. And his wife was like, well, we got to pay the bills. You got to do it. And he's like, yeah, fuck it. And just quickly in one night, just painted this or whatever. And like the reason the painting's so good is because the negative space in the painting does all the work. And the reason the negative space in the painting does all the work is because he didn't want to spend a long time painting it. So he like drew around what he wanted the eye to see and like let the stuff he didn't do like carry the image because he didn't want to do the painting. It's like it's
That's
so funny to me that it's just amazing. He's just like this insane talent who revolutionized everything, and he most of the time didn't even want to be doing it, which is amazing.
oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's just hilarious.
It's so funny. It's just like accidental Einstein. It's so great.
Just imagine. It's like, oh my God, Einstein. Einstein. Just he revolutionized astrophysics with
It's
with
actually
the field of relativity. And like
yeah.
Einstein's like, I don't want to do this. I want to, I want to, I want to be a baseball player. I want to, you know, I want to play football, American football. It's
It's
like,
funny because like not to go back to this from earlier, but Frank Frazetta is basically the guy from Good Will Hunting. He's like, I'm sorry, this is so hard for you guys. It comes naturally to me. Like he's essentially just like working class guy who, if not for the fact that he's insanely naturally good at painting, he probably would have been like a janitor that smoked cigarettes and like went to boxing matches and played baseball. But like he's just this insane talent, just naturally, even without any training. Like just an insane genius with art. But yeah, he's very much the Good Will Hunting character for illustration.
man, that's just. It's like, if I could just achieve like a quarter of what he's got, I feel like
Oh yeah.
I'd be like in a very good position in life. Just
Hmm.
not even like 100%, like a 25, maybe like 10%. That'd be good.
Right.
Jesus.
Yeah.
No, okay. I think honestly, it's like I very like I love the work of like Frank Frazetta, and like I've also been like getting into other illustrators. I think like this is other guy. His name was like Earl Norem.
Sure.
Like his like Masters of the Universe stuff is really good. Also like I think you've mentioned like Wes Burt before, but like
Yeah.
his stuff is like very reminiscent. Like his concept art and his like paintings, especially
Yeah.
now since he's done like work for Fantastic Four. It's like very reminiscent of like of that age of illustration where it's like it's more like analog and it's more like
Yeah. Because he's very Wes is very atelier trained. He was at Safe House and some other places, I believe. But Wes is like very classically trained artist who's just bringing, and it's also when he was a kid. It's such a wholesome story with Wes. I love Wes so much. I love his story. I love his art. He loved all those IPs when he was a kid. Like I remember when he was working on Deadpool and Wolverine, he posted the drawings he did when he was like 7 years old of Wolverine, and now he's like designing the official MCU debut of this character that he was like obsessed with as a kid. It's like he literally got the dream job that he always wanted. That was like, he wanted this since he was a kid and he made it happen. And it's so wholesome and awesome. And he's such a nice guy. Wes is just the greatest. Like, I don't know. He's just uncannily, uncommonly kind and always willing to just like be positive. He's never been toxic about anything that I've ever seen. Always been super kind, super generous with his time. But yeah, I don't know. There's very few people like him, and I don't know. His stuff's just great. He's so iconic. He's worked on so much stuff.
hmm,
But yeah,
yeah. All right. I think this I think this could go into the realm of like more personal advice. Would you be comfortable?
sure.
Okay. I think I'm going to Lightbox this October, and I'm kind of like working
Okay.
on a portfolio, like
Hmm.
and essentially I've been kind of asking around on the Discord, and basically so far I think the number of pieces for like a concept portfolio is like what, like 10 to 15 pages.
Oh, yeah, I'd say 10 minimum. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so basically I've been for the concept portfolio. I think so far I have designs of
Mhm.
say of like I I have like I didn't create anything original. I decided to
Mhm.
basically just do specific just do a specific idea or an IP that's been done before, like Frankenstein. And
Mhm.
so far I think most of my designs have been like rendered to the gills. So like I understand that like concept art, none of it has to be like super rendered, right?
Mhm.
I think like I think for a for a portfolio, like what are these people? What are say studios or art directors expecting to see?
Uh, I think they want to see a broad mix of stuff because you're gonna probably be part of a team, and inevitably, even if you're doing one thing, you might need to help other people do other things. So, I would say a good thing to do if you're going for concept art specifically is you want to show them that you can iterate. So, let's say I don't know if I was doing Masters of the Universe, let's say that I made that the thing that was my portfolio. I would want to show at least five of the good guys and five of the bad guys. I'd need a range. And of those people, I would want to do diversity of stuff so I could show range. So, like for the bad guys, I don't want to do all humans. I want to include some monsters and robots. For the good guys, I don't want to do all the dudes. I want to show some of the women and some of the creatures like Orko. Like, you want to show a range. You don't just want to do all muscle guys that are good and all muscle guys that are bad. I also think on top of that, you want to show iteration. So let's say you pick one or two of the characters. Let's say it's going to be Skeletor and He-Man. I think some looser drawings exploring different ways to draw those characters, maybe pulling from different cultures, different time periods, just different ways. These are five directions I could have taken this character. Here's five directions I could have taken this other character, and here's the finished render of the one that I thought was the strongest. So you're showing them the finished piece. You're also showing them your ideation process and your range of like, here's other things I could have done, but this is the one I chose to do. And I also think you want to show them just some variation, like maybe you're doing Man at Arms, and one cool piece you could have in the portfolio is like a turnaround of Man at Arms, and then some different versions of different weapons he could have attached to him. Like maybe it's the same drawing of his body, and there's like pasted four times, and each time you paste it, you draw different arms on him, like different weapons, different style stuff he's attacking with. Maybe his core and his legs and his face are the same, but you're just showing like here's different upgrades he can have. Here's different ways you could kit out this character. Like I think they want to see your ideation process. They want to see what your finished work looks like, and they want to see that you're okay changing things and exploring a breadth of stuff. So the way to do that I think is like I was saying, you want to show a good amount of sketches that are going in different directions for a finished piece. Like that's very good. And also with a finished piece, like subtle tweaks on it. Like one of the concept artists for like Raid Shadow Legends, whose name I can't remember. I follow him on Instagram. He posts his turnarounds for the champions he does for that game, and a lot of times he'll post like variants, which I think are like upgrades of the character that you can get in the game where it'll be a render of the character, then pasted next to it, it'll be the exact same drawing of the character, but there's a few more things painted on them to make them look cooler. Then there's the third one after that, and it's like the final upgrade, and there's even more stuff painted on top of that same painting just to make it look like a cooler version. I think that stuff's good too, especially if you're going into video games, because they want to, so much stuff is about upgrading and like what's the low level version of the character and still having it look cool as low level, but also here's the high level character that's the maximum cool. Like they're all good, but this is the one you're going for. I think that stuff's important. So yeah, I'd say ideation, your sketching process, iteration, how many versions of a finished piece can you do? I think both of those are very important. And then they just want to see range. So 10 pieces is good. Make sure they're not all humans. Make sure they're not all one gender. Make sure they're not all one creature. Uh, for example, I always tell people when I went and started working for Pathfinder, the thing that got me the job was I designed 5 heroes and 5 villains, and I made sure that all of them were different. So for the heroes, there was a guy, there was a woman, and then there no one else was human. There was a dwarf, there was a weird creature that I made up, there was like a giant. So like I didn't just do like 5 guys. Like one's a wizard, he's a human man. One's a, knight, he's a human man. Like it's just range. A short, skinny knight. Here's a here's like a Marilith creature with like a snake body. Here's like a weird undead version of the guy from the good guy team. Like just range of ideas. Don't get trapped in a place where your whole portfolio is just orcs or just Vikings. Like yeah, I think
Or
that would be
space
my yeah, my big advice. The other thing you could do if you're targeting a specific company, like if you're going to go and you want to work for like Blizzard or something, is to draw their own characters and show how you can make them different and what you can bring to the table, because that's going to be a lot of what you're doing. I think you can, if you want to throw that in a portfolio when you're going to a company, like, hey, here's a cool take I have on one of your IPs. Here's the kind of stuff I could bring to the table. That stuff's good too. Um, but yeah, that would be my general advice is at least 10 pieces of finished work, some sketching, exploring, at least 2 of those in different ways you could have gone, and then some upgrades for 1 or 2 of them.
Okay, okay. Could I
But yeah,
also I'm also very much into like say just illustration in general, like say like keyframes and just like
sure.
could I add that into, or is it just like does it have to just be focused on one thing? Because that's like
No, I think you're fine. I think you're fine adding that stuff in. I'd put it in its own like section or like chunk. Like do your concept art, and then after the concept art stuff, go into the keyframe stuff and the animation stuff, and just have it. I don't think you should have it be where it's like here's a piece of concept art, here's a keyframe, here's some sketches, here's another piece of concept art, here's another keyframe.
hmm,
I think you should make like sections of it. Like here's all my concept art stuff, and it's all together, and it's all here, and you can look at it. And then here's all my animation stuff and my keyframe stuff, and it's here, and you can look at it. Like one thing I think a lot of people fall into with their portfolio is this scattershot thing where the portfolio doesn't feel super focused because they're putting in too much of everything into the same portfolio, where it's like here's some characters and here's some weapons and here's some environments, and now here's some aliens and here's some vehicles and here's another character. It's like do a character portfolio, do an environment portfolio, do a, show them that you're able to focus and really have some expertise on a thing, and then show them you can do that with other things too. And like, I think a nice focused portfolio always feels a little more professional than just here's my entire body of work in a PDF. Like you don't want to overwhelm. You want to kind of create a menu for the thing they're hoping to taste. You want to kind of curate it towards them instead of just here's everything.
all right, all right, all right.
But yeah, and always your best stuff.
Always my best stuff. Okay, okay,
Always your best stuff. If there's something in there that doesn't feel up to par with your current skill level, don't put it in just because it's an extra piece. It's better to have 5 amazing pieces than 7 pieces where 5 are great and 2 kind of suck, because they're going to remember the 2 that kind of suck.
okay, okay. Okay. Hmm. Also, say when it comes to say looking for like jobs in the industry, like there is work out there, but like it's it's mostly senior level. So do I just like I think you've said this before, just apply anyway?
Yeah, apply anyway. It's always better to just put yourself out there, because even if you don't get the thing, they might remember your name and they might remember you if something opens up later and be like, "Oh, that person applied. Their stuff was good for this. Let's reach out to them, see what they're doing." Like the worst case scenario is more people are going to know who you are and know that you're out there. and that's a good thing. Like it's also part of like networking. Like you want your name to be something people think of. You want people to know that you're out there looking for work and doing stuff. Like that's there's nothing bad that can come from that. So yeah, I would say put your name out there, be open to feedback. If you don't get a thing, don't be afraid to ask the person, hey, like I respect that, you went a different direction. I get it. For future reference, because I love your company, I'd love to work for you someday. What can I do that would make my portfolio something you'd be more interested in signing with in the future? Like that's a perfectly good question to ask. It also kind of subconsciously builds a rapport and a relationship between you and the art director where even though you didn't get the job, they're kind of art giving you homework. Like they're sort of being your art director even though you haven't been hired yet. They're telling you, hey, we want to see these things. And then when you come back and you apply again and you've done the things they told you to do, it's subconsciously telling them that you're able to listen to their direction and you'd be a good member of the team. So like it's always good to kind of pretend you already have the job, and that's a good subtle way of doing it. But yeah.
All right, all right. I think I question. So this, I think it's you probably get this a lot, but
Sure.
do you have any advice to people who want to be who want to do what you do, or like who want to do what this type of stuff that you and Dave do? Like any
Um
yeah.
yeah, I'd say if you want to in terms of the writing, if you want to do what me and Dave do, I'd say um find a friend you can do it with or somebody that you trust that you has the same sense of humor or at least has the same interests because having a conversation is sometimes an easier way to start getting ideas out of your head than having a monologue. Like, if I was sitting at my computer with no one to talk to and I just had an open Word document, I could write stuff, but it's not going to be that good because it's not a back and forth. It's not a building exercise. It's not conversational, especially for the kind of comics we do where it's mostly people talking and it's back and forth. Writing that all on your own is going to feel kind of stiff, whereas you could just have somebody as a writing partner, and you're more likely to find more gold the more people are panning for gold, and if you have shared interests, then it's gonna be more natural, and don't be afraid to just dive into something. You don't need to have a perfect outline for a script before you start writing the script. You can just jump in the middle. Some really good advice that I believe Miyamoto shared that I know resonated with me and Dave a lot was you should design your first level last. Like, just start making the fun parts of the game, and then when you're done making the game, you can go back and say, okay, now that I know that this is the game, a first level should probably look like this to introduce people to all the stuff that I know is coming later. Because one thing that freaks people out is the perfect start. It's like if I don't, this has to be perfect, this has to be good. They get freaked out about making it good, and then they never end up actually starting the thing because they get analysis paralysis. And it's just like, oh, if everything, I don't know how to start this thing because if I start it bad, and then it gets good, I'm gonna have to redo all of it. And the beginnings, they freak themselves out. Just start, just start doing a thing, and start in the middle, start anywhere you want. Just start at the place that's fun. Figure out the beginning later. It doesn't matter. Nobody has to know that you wrote the beginning at the end. Literally, nobody has to know. This is just do it for you, do it for fun, do whatever you have to do to get the ball rolling. And once the ball's rolling, you can roll it backwards if you have to. It's more important to get the creative momentum than it is to be perfectionist and get every little thing chronologically exactly right. Um, I think that's a big thing a lot of people struggle with. In terms of art stuff, it's a really boring answer. You just have to work at it a lot. Like when I was doing a ton of freelance and when I was working on movies and stuff, it's because I was just grinding like crazy. I was networking, I was working all the time, I was live streaming constantly, I was constantly reaching out to artists, I was constantly trying to help people, people were constantly trying to help each other. I was fishing for jobs, I was trading jobs with friends when I had too much work and they had too much work, and it's just kind of a it's just kind of a grind. It's very competitive. I would say my advice for anybody doing this, having done it myself and kind of fallen out of it and rediscovering it, and also as someone who's very good friends with a lot of people that do this professionally, you have to find a way to keep the passion for it going, because I don't believe in artistic burnout in the sense that like I drew too much and now I don't have any ideas and I'm burnt out and well, I'm so burnt out from drawing I don't like it anymore. I don't believe in that. I do believe in just burnout in life, and I think creativity is downstream from life. Sort of like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like if you don't have this at the base, you can't then progress to this, to this, to this. I think if your physical and mental health deteriorate enough, you won't be able to create art because art is further down the pipeline, further down the chain in what your brain is able to do than, physical and mental health. And if you don't take care of those baseline things, if you're not feeling positive, if you're not feeling healthy, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to probably get art block and you're probably going to burn out. But it's not because you're magically, not an artist anymore, or you magically don't have any ideas. It's because you are taking the environment that your ideas are supposed to flourish in and you're pouring gasoline all over it and setting it on fire. It's like ripping up a garden and being like nothing's going to grow. It's like, yeah, because you're not tending the garden. Like going to the gym is a really good way to help you get better at art. Like going for a walk every day and sticking to like a pretty healthy diet is a really good way to make you better at art, because the engine for your art is your brain, and if you don't take care of your brain, your art's going to suck. Like you have to have a certain baseline quality of life. I'm not saying don't grind. You're going to have to grind if you want to get anywhere with it. It's just inevitable. You have to put in thousands of hours to get good at stuff. It's just the rule of life. That being said, art is a product of your brain. Your brain is the environment that it grows in, and if you don't take care of that environment, your art is going to be shit. It's just inevitable. If you hate yourself, you're going to hate your art. It's happened to me. It's happened to tons of people I know. You have to take care of yourself, and your art will flourish if you take care of yourself. If you grind yourself to death and you let your life fall apart, your art is going to get worse. You're going to get stressed out. You're not going to enjoy it anymore. You're going to feel paralyzed. It's going to feel like a job, and you're going to phase out. You have to find a way to keep the love for it alive, and the best way to do that is to feel healthy and productive while you're doing it. Um, but yeah, it's like you just have to. You have to somehow take care of yourself, because if you don't and you let this become a thing that burns you out, it's not burning out the artist inside you, it's just burning out your brain, and then your brain can't do anything productive. But yeah, that's the biggest advice I give people is you have to take care of yourself, because if you don't, it's going to swallow your whole life up and you're going to end up hating it.
It's actually pretty good advice. Yeah, no, because I think like I think I remember like I had to at my day job I had to work like 10-hour shifts every day,
Mm.
and every time I came home and tried to live stream or paint or anything, like
Yeah.
my body was like nah chief nah I don't think we
Mm.
can do it nah the
It's
bed's up.
crazy because like all my best ideas, this isn't even a joke. I have an app. I just have a notes app on my phone. All my best ideas, they never like you'd think that this is the art environment. You'd think that the studio with the perfect monitor and the computer and you've got your library of books and all your inspirational stuff. You'd think that this is the place where you go to and you sit down and you drink your coffee and the ideas are going to come. The muse is going to speak to me. I'm going to make my art. Oh, my next big project begins now. I'm in the zone of creativity. Literally none of my ideas happen in this space ever. All my ideas happen when I'm swimming in the pool at the YMCA. When I get into a flow of exercise where my heart rate's up and my brain starts to tune out, like the constant bombardment of thoughts that's going on in my brain just starts to I get a little bit tired after doing laps for like 30 minutes. I get a little sleepy, my brain starts to slow down, and when all the noise is gone and when I'm relaxed and my muscles are moving and I'm breathing and I'm getting more, all of a sudden I start getting ideas. This would be cool. This would be funny. I'd love to paint something like this. And I have to stop and I have to record all those things in the app in the notes app on my phone, which I keep at the end of the pool. And it's very funny because people always wonder what the fuck I'm doing. I'll swim, I'll stop, I'll write a few paragraphs, I'll swim, I'll stop, I'll write a few paragraphs, I'll swim, I'll stop. If I sit here at the computer with 20 million distractions and Photoshop open and I can just go on YouTube and like there's so many other avenues my brain can go, I will not come up with anything. But if I'm walking or if I'm exercising and I can tune all that shit out and just be alone in my brain, all the gold comes there. And like I would never get anything done if I didn't set time aside for that stuff. It's literally the most important thing I can recommend to people. Like I guarantee all your best ideas are going to happen when you're not sitting at the computer trying to force them to happen. You have to step out and take care of yourself. And trust me, the ideas will come. They will come, but you can't force them. You can't sit down and say, now I'm going to have a good idea because it won't happen.
Well, damn. Hmm. That actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's like it's because like back to like it's like back to like the time where I was like working 10-hour shifts. It's like it's like every time I try and force it,
Yeah.
I literally just couldn't. Like my
Yeah.
part it's kind of weird. Like parts of my psyche was like, why are you trying this, dude? The bed's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, okay.
100%. And it's also like me and Dave used to call it the math class hack, where like all of your best ideas for drawings and all the coolest shit you ever came up with as a kid happened when you were stuck in math class and you didn't want to be there and your brain got locked into like escapism and like that's when all the coolest doodles happen as a kid because you do not want to be in math class. You'd rather be anywhere else. And then you start inventing escapism and ways to get out of the fucking class that you're stuck in. And if you can find a way to harness that feeling in adulthood, sometimes it's going to the gym and like, working yourself out to the point where like, oh man, like I'd rather be doing this or oh man, I can't wait to get home and do this. Like anything to trigger that feeling of there's got to be something cooler than this and what is it? That's all very good stuff to tap into and to kind of bend to your will and like use. I know some people, I used to do this. I'd put on like free college lectures on YouTube and I'd try to intentionally make myself bored, like the specific kind of bored I felt in high school where I'd be like kind of antsy, like I want to draw just to like tune this out and like get my mind going. Like for me, it's the gym. I didn't realize it was the gym until about 2 years ago. For me, that's the secret sauce is the gym. That's where all my good ideas come from. I don't know if it's the endorphins. I don't know if it's the oxygen level. I don't know if it's the exercise tuning out my like ADHD by making my brain kind of tired. I don't. Maybe it's a mix of all of it. But for me, that's the secret. For other people, it might be listening to certain kinds of music, doing certain kinds of meditation, going on certain kind of trips. Like just find the thing that is out there that's gonna access your creative part of your brain because it's probably not going to be sitting in front of a blank canvas hoping a lightning bolt strikes you. It's probably going to be out in the world. But yeah,
All right. Okay. Okay. I think I have another question.
yeah.
So, how has failure shaped your life and career?
I think pretty significantly. I think both in terms of like the characters we write in our book are hugely based on failure, whether it's failure of people we knew growing up or our own personal failures. Like failure is a really close cousin to comedy. Like it's very comedy adjacent. People love laughing at failure because it's relatable. Everybody fails at stuff. So empathy is like the quickest way to get to comedy, and failure is a really good hack for empathy. So I think in terms of writing, failure has been very, very big for both me and Dave because all of our characters are failures in certain ways. I think for art, I think it's like an endurance round of constantly failing. Like that's how you get good at anything. You do it and you suck and you do it again and you suck and you do it again and you suck and you suck and you suck and you just try to keep sucking a little bit less until you get to a point where you're like, okay, like I might not be happy with where I'm at, but I can look back at the stuff I used to do and I know objectively that I'm better than that now. And like that's progress. And that might be the only way you feel progress is going, okay, well, I'm not happy with this, but I know objectively I'm better at it than I used to be because I can look at these two things side by side. And I think you kind of have to embrace failure to get good at anything because it's such a necessary part of it. Absolutely such a necessary part of it. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's something you got to learn how to enjoy. Like I think failure is like funny, not just in terms of writing, but also in terms of like I love doing like me and Dave used to do these 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 streams called Mousetrap on the holidays where we would take prompts from the audience secretly. Like I would get a prompt and I wouldn't tell Dave what it was, and he would get a prompt and he wouldn't tell me what it was. And we'd have to draw it using a mouse with our bad hand. So if you're right-handed, you'd be drawing it with your left hand. And the idea was there's no way this is going to be good. We're intentionally making it so it's going to suck no matter what. And the whole point of the exercise and the comedy that comes out of the exercise is how close can you get? Can you at least make it recognizable while also knowing it's going to be the biggest piece of shit you've ever drawn in your life because you're handicapping yourself multiple ways. And that's really cool because it forces you to be creative without the end result of this is going to be badass or this is going to be cool. It takes your ego out of it and just allows you to create. It's relatable and funny because we always do it with a live audience. So like it kills that weird I have to be good ego try hard thing that paralyzes so many people where it's like my art has to look amazing or I'll never post it. It's got to be the best thing ever or I'm not going to post it because I don't want to be made fun of. It shuts that part of you up and just gets you into a creative mindset. And honestly, like some of the most memorable stuff I've ever seen Dave draw, like the things I remember are from those mousetraps because they're so bad, but the effort put into them to try and make them something besides trash is so amazing and so funny that like it's such a good creative exercise to go in saying immediately this is going to be bad. It's going to be bad, and I'm embracing the fact that it's going to be bad, and we're just going to let it be bad and try to make it as good as possible. It's really, really beneficial in a really cool way. It's also like it's similar to like what they do in like art school with like gesture classes and stuff, where it's like here's a 30-second gesture. It's not going to be good. Like you're not going to do a finished piece of art in 30 seconds. You're not going to hang it on your wall and go, "This is the best thing I've ever drawn." But that's not the point of it. The point of it is to get your mind going and to try and see the thing you're drawing as quickly as possible and break it down into the most essential steps so then you can build on top of it later. And it's just like a way to like hack your brain out of analysis paralysis basically and just get the creative juice flowing. So I don't know. I think embracing failure is really good. I think if you can laugh at your work and laugh at your failures and know where you need to improve and not take it personally and feel hurt in like an ego way, I think that's a really good place to be. I know it's very hard for people because for a lot of people, you know, art's a very time consuming thing and it's all some people have. And they don't have a ton of social life because they spend so much time grinding on it. And like, that's a tough place to be. And you know, laughing at your stuff when it's the only thing you've got going on can be hard. It can be very difficult. For some people, it's impossible because you know they don't want to feel like a failure. But you have to understand that just because you're laughing at something and you know you have to get better at it, it doesn't mean you're a failure. It's quite the opposite. It means that you're understanding how far you have to go and you're seeing the flaws in your stuff, which is like the most essential step to getting better. If you can't see the flaws and you don't have a roadmap for what has to improve, you're just going to keep doing the same shit over and over and over again. So I think embracing failure and making it a fun, positive thing that's very human and very relatable is very essential. It's like essentially what me and Dave did with Crimson Daggers forever ago was, hey, come watch us fail every day. And you know eventually we'll get better but like you can see the effort going into us trying not to be absolute shit every day and like you know constantly fucking up and making art that didn't look good and doing studies that were bad and like being able to laugh about it with an audience that was like okay with it not being good is so beneficial. So Yeah, I would that would be my advice and my take on how failure has shaped my career is like it's essential. Failure is like the most important thing. Like you have to be okay with failure. It's going to be inevitable. You will fail. It will be funny. It's okay to laugh at it. It's going to get better. You're going to look back on it and realize how important all that stuff was. And you might as well do it with a bunch of people that are also feeling the same way because it takes the sting of the negativity out and makes it really fun and builds a community of people around you that think you're a relatable person that they want to follow, as opposed to some pretentious artist who's up their own ass that they can't relate to, who
Hmm.
thinks that their stuff's perfect all the time. So yeah, that would be my take on that.
All right, all right. Well, to be honest, I don't really think I have any more questions.
Cool, man. This is a good talk.
Yeah, it was honestly it was kind of a. I know I'm not trying to put you on a pedestal, but honestly, it's like it was it's an honor, you know.
Hey man, it's been great. I was really I'm sorry it took so long to get back to you about this. It's just been a crazy summer, but I'm glad we got to do this.
Yeah, yeah, me too, me too. Also, it's like uh, it's fun. I understand that you have like a full schedule, you have a life of your own. I was just trying to basically like just like have this happen without being such like a like super without being like such a like a super needy person. It's
No,
like
it's cool, dude. It's all these weddings. It's just there's so much. I'm just traveling so much this summer. Everyone's getting married, but
wow.
uh, but yeah, no, it's I'm going to another one this week. I got to leave Thursday, but yeah, man, I'm glad we got to do this. This was fun. If you ever want to do it again, let me know.
Uh, yeah, yeah, of course. All right.
All right, man. I guess is that good? Is there anything else?
I mean, last thing, any networking advice? Like,
Yeah. Um, be yourself. It's okay to be a fan of somebody's work, but try not to over fanboy. Like, don't you gotta remember most people feel the same way as most other people. Like you don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. Like just be yourself. It's okay to be a fan of people. Make sure that you see them as a person first and not like, you know, your favorite artist or whatever. Like you talk to them like they're a person because they are. Like they're on the same path that you're on. They just might be further down that path. And yeah, just try to find common interests, try to relate to people, try to ask like real questions. You know, like what people's interests are and what inspires them and shit like that. And yeah, don't I don't know, don't treat people like celebrities would be my advice. Just treat them like people because they are just people.
mm,
And if they're comfortable around you, they're going to be more willing to talk to you and they're going to be more willing to remember you and yeah, that's my whole approach is just treat everybody like you would want someone to treat you. Don't overcrowd them. Just you know, try to focus on having a good time and enjoy things because yeah, that's what most people want to do.
hmm, okay, okay. Also, I think I don't know. This could be a big ask, but afterwards, could I
Hmm.
send you some like can I send you some um some of my portfolio or like the progress of like the pieces that I'm going to add to my portfolio? So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Send me what dates you're going to Lightbox too, so I can I might not I want to know how much time I have to get back to you because I do have to travel this week, but I will absolutely look at your portfolio and give you some feedback.
yeah. It's like it's gonna be like it's gonna be like I think a weekend. So basically, it's like for the I'll be going for the entirety of it, like just like Thursday, like no, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And quite frankly, like I took some vacation time off from my job, so I think
Sure.
like I'll be taking the plane to Pasadena from New York, from like
Okay.
from like from like Thursday, and then I'll be like
Okay.
I think most of my time that's going to going towards going back. That's that's like Monday.
Okay.
So
Cool. Yeah. Send it over and I will I'll definitely take a look.
all right. Thank you very much.
All right, man. This was fun.
Yeah, yes, this was.
I'm gonna take a quick break on my stream. I'm not ending the stream. I'm just gonna mute and go walk around for a minute, get back into hyper rendering mode. But we've been talking to Jacobo. This is very fun, and yeah, man, have a great time at Lightbox.
All right. You. Thank you. Thank you. I was about to say you too. It was.
No, I won't be there, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it's gonna be a lovely. I'm sure it's gonna be a lovely time.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. All right.
All right, buddy.
All
Take
right.
care.
Take care.
Later.
Later. Do I disconnect or?
I'll be back momentarily, chat. I hope you enjoyed that long conversation.
All right. So we did it. That was the conversation with Mr. Daniel Warren. Did it. I think uh, I'm gonna end it right here because it has been 2 hours, and I'm going to follow Dan's advice, which is I'm just gonna take a small walk and recharge before I come back to this. Thank you to Madara Sabi for watching. Sorry I couldn't respond to any of your super chats. I'm going to have myself a nice jolly old walk and hopefully come back to this project recharged and actually have some, good head sketches for Dr. Frankenstein and maybe add some more iterations or something. But this has been a conversation with Mr. Daniel Warren. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have.